month. Webster County Public Health issued a COVID-19 update Tuesday evening that says the county's case count is now at 672 total cases, an increase of 64 cases since late last week. However, over half of those cases are attributed to the Fort Dodge prison. Of the cases for residents in Webster County, 313 of those have recovered, which leaves just 25 active cases in the county. The venue in the murder trial of the Fort Dodge man accused of killing Reverend Al Henderson has now been set. 37-year-old Joshua Pendleton will be tried in Scott County on charges of first-degree murder and first-degree robbery. Pendleton is accused of killing Henderson outside of St. Paul Lutheran Church here in Fort Dodge in October of 2019. The trial has not yet been given a start date, as jury trials are not permitted to start until September due to COVID-19. The start of the trial is expected also to be delayed further than that because of the Scott County courts being backlogged. Iowa Secretary of Agriculture Mike Naig has confirmed that the Iowa Department of Agriculture and Land Stewardship is aware that people in Iowa have received unsolicited seed shipments from China and other countries. The department is asking anyone who receives unlabeled seed from an unknown origin to retain the original packaging and report it immediately by calling 515-281-5321. Recipients should not open the seed packet, plant the seed, or attempt to destroy it. The Iowa Department of Agriculture will collect, analyze, and properly dispose of the seed. Secretary Naig said, quote, the Iowa Department of Agriculture is working closely with the USDA to trace, collect, and properly destroy to protect our agricultural community from plant and seed-borne diseases. The USDA issued a news release stating that this could be a brushing scam where people receive unsolicited items from a seller who then posts false consumer reviews to boost online sales. In sport, state softball tournament action from yesterday. Ogden, a 5-2 winner over Mount Ayr in Class 2A. Mount Ayr got 2 in the first. Ogden would get 1 in the first and 1 in the third. They then plated 3 in the fourth to take the lead for good. Ogden allowed just 1 hit in the game. They'll take on Louisa Muscatine in the semifinals today. In Class 3A, Algona fell 3-1 to Williamsburg. Bulldogs managed just 1 hit off of Williamsburg freshman Peyton Driscoll. That 1 hit was a solo home run in the 6th by Algona's Cam Etherington. She ended her career at Algona with the loss after leading the team to back-to-back state tournament appearances. In Class 1A, Newell Fonda fell to 7-seed Lisbon 3-0. The game was a 1-0 pitcher's duel until the 7th when Lisbon tacked on 2 insurance runs. Newell Fonda ends their season at 18-3 and will graduate just 2 seniors. Their program has made the state tournament 12 times in the last 16 years. The Class 5A state semifinal game between number 1 Fort Dodge and number 5 Ankeny Centennial is currently in progress. Find out if the Dodgers punched their ticket to the first state championship game in program history, as we'll have the final score and story on the game later on today. That's your Alpha Media News Update from the Jerry Sheeter Newsroom. I'm Rob Jones.
Here's the AM 1400 KVFD weatherology forecast. Chance for scattered storms this afternoon, otherwise mainly cloudy skies. Highs level off around 85, winds out of the northeast 5 to 10 miles per hour. Chance for scattered storms tonight 64, overcast skies. Chance for scattered storms again tomorrow, highs level off around 83, mainly cloudy skies expected. From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. Currently it's 86.
Raising pigs in Iowa creates opportunity for young people and rural communities to build a positive future. While others may not share our passion for farming, we know Iowans share our values of hard work, love of family, and desire to be a good neighbor. By focusing on these values, we know we're helping Iowa be better for tomorrow. To learn more, go to iowapork.org.
Michael Devine the doctor of truth.
Does anyone have anything they'd like to confess?
That AM 1400 KVFD.
Well, first of all, an update. Ladies and gentlemen, we can be proud in our little town today. The Fort Dodge girls won 5-3 today, and they'll be in the state championship game tomorrow. I don't know who the opponent will be tomorrow, but the good news is the Fort Dodge softball team is in the state championship game tomorrow, and we'll hear from our sports director, Rob Jones, in about a half an hour. I don't have as good a news on another front, and to discuss this, we once again bring in my friend and Flannery O'Connor admirer, Larry Baker, an author from Iowa City. How are you, Larry?
I'm still trying to calm down, Michael.
Well, and what Larry's talking about, and it's I can hardly express myself, and Larry, as you can hear, can't either. Larry and
I'm seldom at a loss for words.
Neither am I, and I'm struggling right now to express my outrage. Larry and I have something in common, and it's Flannery O'Connor, one of the truly original, truly great American writers in our country's history. Mm-hmm. She truly is an American treasure. She only lived to be 39 years old, and she died, by the way, in 1964. She was, for a time, at the Writers' Colony, if I can call it that, in Iowa City.
Well, that sounds like imperialist, old world, 19th century Belgium taking over the Congo sort of thing. But okay.
We'll talk about that another time. But she was with the Iowa Writers Program that seemingly every author in the 60s and 70s, including Kurt Vonnegut and Raymond Carver, went through. Carver's distinctly original American artist as well, who also.
Michael, I did not know you were a Carver fan.
Oh, I have most of Carver's works. Absolutely.
Oh, I am impressed. I went through a phase in my short story phase where I intentionally copied his style.
Oh yeah. Raymond Carver, by the way, and Flannery O'Connor specialized in short stories. And I've never seen writers pack so much into such short stories ever. And it had lasting and meaningful impacts on me, especially O'Connor, who was a devout Catholic in the Old South, which was kind of she was raised in a little town in southern Georgia. Now, having lived in the South, I lived in North Carolina, and they were still kind of, they didn't know about Catholics exactly.
I learned more about you, Michael. Where in North Carolina did you live?
The Outer Banks of North Carolina. I worked at WRSF radio station. I was a kid from Algona, Iowa, and I was the boss of the beach.
All right, tell me again, what part of North Carolina?
The Outer Banks, just north of Wilmington there, between Virginia Beach and Wilmington, right on the coast.
I spent a year in Chapel Hill.
What's that?
I spent a year in Chapel Hill.
North Carolina is a very strange state. I mean, it respects education. It has places like Duke University, Chapel Hill, all those places. University of Northern Carolina, North Carolina State, there's a great admiration for education in North Carolina, but their secondary schools are terrible.
Oh, sure.
They're just awful. And so it's a dichotomy that I've never understood.
Well, I went to school there in 1978, 79, 80, and it was like I went from Oklahoma to there, and it's like I went to a place where the Civil War was never over.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
And they were still fighting that damn thing. Anyway, which all leads back into O'Connor.
Yes, Flannery O'Connor. Anyway, if you don't know who Flannery O'Connor is, I feel sorry for you. You should find out immediately. You should be going to Wikipedia right now and getting one of her books off Amazon or at the bookstore or wherever.
You don't call yourself educated or literate unless you've read her.
That's right. That's exactly right. So tell us the story here, Larry. You're going to be better at it than I am.
We're in this process of reevaluating the past along racial terms. What was an individual's position or place in American racial history? And, I got no problem with Confederate generals and their statues going straight to hell. I mean, that's American history that should have never been sort of memorialized. But now what you find is the same forces are going after American writers and artists who themselves have a problematic racial history.
Oh,
Flannery
absolutely.
O'Connor grew up in the South. She had some private thoughts, some letters. I mean, it's not very flattering. Doesn't change a thing about her writing. In fact, her writing is probably the most anti-racist writing you can find. But so Loyola University in Maryland has decided to take her name off of a dormitory that they had named in her honor as a good Catholic writer, and that's the important thing, as a Catholic writer. And she will say, I am first and foremost a Catholic writer, and that the life and death of Jesus Christ is central to everything that I write. Flannery O'Connor is one of the great American /Catholic writers. And the university honored her. But now, because she had some statements in her past that were, quite honestly, offensive, absolutely.
By 2000,
she
2012
no longer has any
standards.
status at the university.
Yeah, by 2020 standards or even 1970 standards they were. But this is a young woman. In 1943, she was a very young woman living in a small town in Georgia. And believe me, Catholics in those years had to be careful, because the Klan not only kept an eye on black people and harassed black people, but they were very, very hard on Catholics and Jews as well. I mean, the African American population in the South are really those who suffered. But I can't imagine many people doing business with a Catholic business person in Milledgeville, Georgia, in 1943. But
yeah, and she grew up on the in Savannah, and then on the outskirts of a smaller town, and very reclusive, but very unique. And it's sort of like, the real question is, how do you deal with this American history? If the only way you can deal with it is like acting like it didn't exist, let's erase this person, let's cancel their names and not teach their stories anymore.
well, I've been talking.
You're blind.
I've been talking a little bitterly on the air, Larry, about the cowardice and failure of leadership that we have here in the United States in regards to our country's history. I'm talking the City Council of Fort Dodge on up. Certainly, there is a racial reckoning, as the popular phrase is now. But are we going to burn down our country and start over? Is that the idea? Flannery O'Connor was a genius. By the way, I don't know if you know this or not. Because you were a literary professor, a couple of weeks ago or a month ago in Whittier, California, John Greenleaf Whittier's statue was defaced. There was racist painted all over his statue. John Greenleaf Whittier, ladies and gentlemen, who was an abolitionist in the 1830s. And he lived in the northeastern United States, but Whittier could have been killed easily for his abolitionist views. And he still, his entire life, wrote strongly in opposition to slavery. So, what happens to the mob? They deface a statue of none other than John Greenleaf Whittier. Now it's Flannery O'Connor's turn.
Well, and a couple of weeks ago also there was an attack on Walt Whitman.
Yeah.
1850s, he said some reflection. There's nobody more egalitarian, more looking for the equality of human beings in his work than Walt Whitman. I mean, Whitman, O'Connor, Emily Dickinson, these are the greatest American writers. And I'm waiting for somebody to dig up a letter that Emily Dickinson wrote, talking about some racial issue that's now going to be turned against her as well.
Oh, there's no doubt that it's out there. It'll be found somewhere along the line. I mean, it will be. There was racial... Here, ladies and gentlemen, let me make a startling announcement. 100 years ago, our country was terribly racist. It was less racist 50 years later, and it's less racist today. But we can't. What we're talking about here is how we handled the racism of 50 or 100 years ago. I mean, come on. So we ban it? I mean, we erase history, some of our proudest history, some of our greatest artists? I
draw a line here, a distinction between political and literary history. political history is much more problematic to me than literary history. Well, Thomas Jefferson is a very problematic figure. But, there's talk about closing down the Jefferson Memorial.
Yeah.
That's insane. You take that memorial and you turn it into a testament about Jefferson's racial failures. And, I'm all for putting a statue of one of his black descendants in the same memorial as to really emphasize the connection in American history between, white behavior and black history. But you don't, let's throw him out. I'm right. If it was 5 o'clock, I'd be drinking, Michael, but it's not 5 o'clock yet.
Not 5 o'clock yet. What are they going to do with abolitionists in the 19th century and early 20th century who regularly referred to African American people as colored or Negro?
Yeah.
Are they racist?
We're on ground here that can be easily misinterpreted because some people can listen to this conversation and say, "Well, you guys are part of the problem."
That's right.
Well,
let them say it.
Well, yeah, but it's like we really have not doing a good job being honest with each other about this whole racial history thing. I mean, my favorite example in the last week or so was Roger Stone getting attacked for his racist statement. Did you follow that story, Michael?
I don't recall what Stone, frankly, is such a weird character that I mean, he and his wife are swingers openly and have been for years. And he's a strange...
That's another conversation because, I'm much too modest to talk about that.
And how can this guy be a major political figure? I mean, and he has been for 50 years.
He's like a hatchet man. He's like a bag man.
I know it, but everybody was onto his game years ago.
Oh, sure. Well, anyway, he made this comment to somebody else, to a black interviewer, about and used the word Negro, and that was the term that was considered racist.
The word Negro was considered racist?
The word Negro, yes.
Okay.
Now, and the very next day I'm reading this, I get a sort of an ad in the Facebook, internet, email, whatever, about a fundraising request from the United Negro College Fund. I mean, we're setting up these standards that we're not applying equally to each other, and that seems to be part of the problem.
Well, the key issue, as far as I'm concerned, is, Larry, that that white leadership is once again not leading us anywhere. What they're doing is silly things like this. And by the way, the president of Loyola, Maryland, is a Jesuit priest. He should resign immediately or be reassigned to somewhere in Lebanon or someplace.
But they ought to be embarrassed and ashamed of what they're doing.
Right. I mean, what we're seeing from the business and political world is virtue signaling. I mean, all these companies, T-Mobile and Verizon and these companies, where were they just 3 months ago? All of a sudden they're down, but they're just saying things. They're they're putting out their little programs. Oh, we're going to do this and we're going to do that. It's really nothing. And the political leadership are absolute cowards. I mean, they literally can't address race in our country at all. They literally can't. So they resort to hiding behind little symbolic things like, and it's still
what I simply call gestures.
Yeah, gestures.
They make a gesture.
That's right.
And I think the mistake that most people make when they start talking about race is like, okay, let's make this gesture, and therefore, problem solved. This is going to take decades and decades. We screwed it up after the Civil War, and we've never recovered from that.
No.
And it is not going to be solved overnight. But I'm flipping over here. Unless you start doing things now, you're never going to solve it in the future either.
Let's do something that's truly relevant. Let's have an honest conversation. Let's have white people come forward and say, this is the problem I have with your behavior, African Americans. Well, I mean, that automatically makes you a racist, I guess.
Yeah. Well, and I think certain black leaders themselves need to come up and say, I mean, it's one of the interesting things that John Lewis said about 3 or 4 months ago. Says, you know, you have to fight the good fight. You have to cause the right trouble. But you know what? You have to do it non-violently.
Oh, absolutely.
And, you know, that's what the 1950s and 60s civil rights movement was based on, non-violent opposition. You know, take the moral high ground. And
well, you're thinking of the Christian ministers, specifically Dr. Martin Luther King, but Stokely Carmichael, and you're a little older than me, so you remember all these things. Stokely Carmichael came along and specifically rejected nonviolence. And that caught on with younger black people at the time, because I was in the service when Carmichael came around. And by the way, the service was a great mixing of different ethnic groups. I learned a lot just from being in the service.
I grew up in this. My father's in the service. I grew up on military bases.
Okay.
Grew up, and you know, on the base was integrated.
Yeah.
The base, completely different world.
Yeah, that's right. Oh, absolutely, 100%. Especially in Georgia, Fort Robbins, Georgia, for example, ladies and gentlemen, black guys didn't even go off base when I was in the service.
Oh, I was born in Bossier City, Louisiana.
Bossier City, all right.
Barksdale Air Force Base.
All right.
And grew up in Louisiana in the 1950s. Jesus God, what an awful place. Lord.
We knew a guy in Bossier City, Louisiana, and he got to be a councilman or something. And he got a bunch of money from the federal government somehow, and we asked, I'm making a long story very short. We asked him how he was going to spend all that money he got from the federal government. He said, boys, I'm going to build a whole lot of buildings with my name on it, which I thought was the great Southern politician response. I'm going to build a whole bunch of buildings with my name on it.
Who was that guy?
Gosh, his first name was Mike, actually, but I can't remember his last name. And I know a guy, there's another guy I know that knows him as well, and I'll give him a call.
A little echo of Huey Long there.
A little echo there, yeah. Well, you know, Louisiana's different, Iowa's different. I mean, we're all a little different. But, ladies and gentlemen, I would, if you're a Catholic person, especially, I grew up that way. And Larry, here's Larry. You just heard his background. He converted to Catholicism. Yes.
No, my wife did.
Oh,
I am a lapsed Southern Baptist. I go to Mass every Sunday.
Ah, there is positive proof that women can get us to do anything.
I am a Catholic agnostic. I you know, sometimes I see proof of God, but most of the time I don't.
So here's the key question: Do you use the kneeler during Mass?
I'm sorry. Say that again. Use the what?
The kneeler.
Oh, yes.
Yes, you do.
I have to. My wife does.
I was going to say, your wife would never allow that. You see, if you don't use the kneeler, that's a sign you're a Protestant. And if your wife is a genuine Catholic, which I assume that she is, she would never allow that.
No, she was raised Southern Baptist, too. She converted.
Wow, that's really weird.
Yeah, in Nashville, Tennessee. And we go, and she does communion. She's a believer. I'm not. Me, it's just proof that God doesn't exist, because when I go and I'm looking around, and you know, any self-respecting God would be hitting lightning bolts at that church with me in there. But no, I sit. She goes and takes communion, and I come back. She comes back, and I let her sit back down. Anyway,
well, you're a well-trained man.
It's God. Yeah. And a total shock to my first wife.
Ladies and gentlemen, Larry had a piece from First Things magazine on his Facebook page, which is how we came to be here on the air today. First Things, by the way, is a Catholic magazine. Mm-hmm. Flannery O'Connor.
Oh, and I posted some other stuff as well. I mean, this all springs out of an article in the New Yorker about a month or two ago. Guy says, God, did you know that Flannery O'Connor had racist writings? And it's sort of like, my response was, duh. Anybody who's read her knows that. And there's another great piece of which this woman goes through and analyzes black response to Flannery O'Connor? Black writers, especially Toni Morrison, Alice Walker, how did they deal with Flannery O'Connor? And, it's sort of like they're angry, and then they come along, and it's like grudging respect. It's like, she was flawed, but she's a genius.
My God, who isn't flawed? Which of us is not flawed? Which of us has not said something that we wish we wouldn't have said later? I mean, I'll be the first to admit that I laughed at racist jokes in the early 70s, especially Polish jokes. I suppose there's Polish people waiting to do me in one of these days.
There's a line of people waiting to do you in, Michael. Polish people.
I think so. Most of them are over at the city council. I've accused a couple of them of going to Portland. And as a matter of fact, this is the time of day where we usually have Councilman Terry Menke here. I just assume Menke's out in Portland with the people.
You said something about the Fort Dodge City Council doing something that.
What I have said is that I have upbraided the city council and our state by their lack of leadership on this issue. Frankly, I believe that we need a conversation. White people must change. I think black people must change. I think there has to be, to use the word, a reckoning. We have to sort this out. We have to understand that what happened to Flannery O'Connor at Loyola, Maryland is stupid and a complete cowardly act by a Jesuit priest, and he should be held accountable for it. We have to hold our leadership to a higher standard because right now, black leadership and white leadership, especially white leadership, is once again failing. We're never going to get anywhere with this virtue signaling. I don't care what Verizon's position is. Until a month ago, T-Mobile was one of Tucker Carlson's biggest advertisers. Now, all of a sudden, bye-bye Tucker, the CEO of the company, says, we're on board with BLM.
They just discovered that Tucker Carlson was an idiot racist. My God.
Well, yeah, that he was a real hard-right conservative. And they were advertisers for years. Now, all of a sudden, this guy is all over social media talking about how down he is with BLM and how Tucker Carlson's a thing of the past. And if there was ever a phony who lived on our earth, it's this guy, the CEO, and that's what just drives me crazy. This is what passes for leadership, some stunt like that.
All right. You've convinced me, Michael. Early.
I don't know if I've convinced you of anything, Larry, but I'm glad that, and I would like to publicly thank you for, I mean, it was probably 10 minutes to 2 when I messaged Larry and asked him to be on.
Isn't that a sad statement about my life?
Well, you're retired. What are you supposed to be doing?
That's it. I'm doing nothing.
Well, yeah.
If somebody want to call me, another radio program, call me. I'm available.
Well, I'll tell all the talk show hosts, who are all conservative, by the way, that you're available. And you can.
I'm available.
Okay. Larry, thank you so much. Larry Baker.
All right, thank you, Michael.
Larry Baker is a poet laureate of Iowa City. This is AM 1400 KVFD.
Michael Devine, the Doctor of Truth.
Does anyone have anything they'd like to confess?
That AM 1400 KVFD.
It's 2:34. The news is next.
When you're stressed, you just don't feel like yourself. New Natrol Relaxia, a full line of drug-free supplements to help you manage occasional stress and anxiety. A special blend of herbals keeps you feeling calm and balanced throughout the day. Because when there's less stress, there's more you. Try new Natrol Relaxia. Learn more at relaxiamood.com. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
Your news, your town, your station. KVFD News when it breaks.
From the Jerry Sheeter Newsroom, I'm Rob Jones. A third inmate from the Fort Dodge Correctional Facility has died after contracting COVID-19. 48-year-old Timothy McGee Jr. passed Monday night at the University of Iowa Hospital. The Department of Corrections press release says that McGee had multiple pre-existing medical conditions. He was serving a 15-year sentence on multiple theft convictions His sentence began in the fall of 2018. As of Tuesday, the Department of Corrections was reporting 336 inmates and 30 staff members from the Fort Dodge prison have tested positive for COVID-19 this month. Webster County Public Health issued a COVID-19 update Tuesday evening that says the county's case count is now at 672 total cases, an increase of 64 cases since late last week. However, over half of those cases are attributed to the Fort Dodge prison. Of the cases for residents in Webster County, 313 of those have recovered, which leaves just 25 active cases in the county. The venue in the murder trial of the Fort Dodge man accused of killing Reverend Al Henderson has now been set. 37-year-old Joshua Pendleton will be tried in Scott County on charges of first-degree murder and first-degree robbery. Pendleton is accused of killing Henderson outside of St. Paul Lutheran Church here in Fort Dodge in October of 2019. The trial has not yet been given a start date, as jury trials are not permitted to start until September due to COVID-19. The start of the trial is expected also to be delayed further than that because of the Scott County courts being backlogged. Iowa Secretary of Agriculture Mike Naig has confirmed that the Iowa Department of Agriculture and Land Stewardship is aware that people in Iowa have received unsolicited seed shipments from China and other countries. The department is asking anyone who receives unlabeled seed from an unknown origin to retain the original packaging and report it immediately by calling 515-281-5321. Recipients should not open the seed packet, plant the seed, or attempt to destroy it. The Iowa Department of Agriculture will collect, analyze, and properly dispose of the seed. Secretary Naig said, quote, the Iowa Department of Agriculture is working closely with the USDA to trace, collect, and properly destroy to protect our agricultural community from plant and seed-borne diseases. The USDA issued a news release stating that this could be a brushing scam where people receive unsolicited items from a seller who then posts false consumer reviews to boost online sales. In sport, state softball tournament action from yesterday. Ogden, a 5-2 winner over Mount Ayr in Class 2A. Mount Ayr got 2 in the first. Ogden would get 1 in the first and 1 in the third. They then plated 3 in the fourth to take the lead for good. Ogden allowed just 1 hit in the game. They'll take on Louisa Muscatine in the semifinals today. In Class 3A, Algona fell 3-1 to Williamsburg. Bulldogs managed just 1 hit off of Williamsburg freshman Peyton Driscoll. That 1 hit was a solo home run in the 6th by Algona's Cam Etherington. She ended her career at Algona with the loss after leading the team to back-to-back state tournament appearances. In Class 1A, Newell Fonda fell to 7-seed Lisbon 3-0. The game was a 1-0 pitcher's duel until the 7th when Lisbon tacked on 2 insurance runs. Newell Fonda ends their season at 18-3 and will graduate just 2 seniors. Their program has made the state tournament 12 times in the last 16 years. The Class 5A state semifinal game between number 1 Fort Dodge and number 5 Ankeny Centennial is currently in progress. Find out if the Dodgers punched their ticket to the first state championship game in program history, as we'll have the final score and story on the game later on today. That's your Alpha Media News Update from the Jerry Sheeter Newsroom. I'm Rob Jones.
This is AM 1400, KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge. I'm Michael Devine. We're going to take a look at the weather, and right now I can tell you it's hot and muggy, but it is July, so there you go. It's 86 degrees, but I think the humidity makes it seem even warmer. There's a slight chance of a thunder shower this evening. Sunny today with a high of 86, but I think we're going to go a little higher than 86. We're at 86 right now. Overnight, a little rain, mostly cloudy with a low of 65. Tomorrow, sunny with a high of 82. Friday, mostly sunny with a high of 83. On Saturday, there's a chance of rain, mostly sunny with a high of 84. On Sunday, sunny with a high of 78. Monday, sunny with a high of 77. Tuesday, sunny with a high of 79. Once again, here in town, 86 degrees, but it seems a lot warmer than that to me. Obituaries this hour brought to you by Gunderson Funeral Home and Cremation Services at 1615 North 15th Street, Fort Dodge. You may contact Gunderson Funeral Home and Cremation Services by calling 515-576-7128 or online at www.gundersonfuneralhome.com. Chuck Coleman has died. Chuck Coleman has passed away at the age of 67. Mr. Coleman lived in Otho, and he died on July 26 after a battle with cancer. Visitation for Charles Chuck Coleman will be held from 4 to 7 tomorrow at Gunderson Funeral Home and Cremation Services. Visitation will be held from 9 to 10 with funeral services beginning at 10 a.m. on Friday, July 31st at Gunderson Funeral Chapel. Obituaries this hour brought to you by Gunderson Funeral Home and Cremation Services at 1615 North 15th Street, Fort Dodge. You may contact Gunderson Funeral Home and Cremation Services by calling 515-576-7128 or online at www.gundersonfuneralhome.com. It's 2:41 at AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge, 86 degrees. With a look at the closing market report, here's Dwayne Murley.
Here's a look at how the markets closed today. September corn down 4.5 at 315.5. December down 3 3/4 at 326.25. March corn down 3 cents at 338.25. May down 3 at 345 3/4. August soybeans down 5 1/4 at 891.5. September down 3 1/4 at 884.5. November down 2 1/4 at 885 1/4. January down 1 3/4 at 891.5. September wheat closed up 9 1/4 cents at 532 3/4. Soybean meal down $2 a ton at 286.90. August live cattle up 55 at 101.45. October up 105 at 106.05. August feeder cattle up 127 at 141.97. September up 127 at 142.57. August lean hogs down 112 at 53.07. October down 90 cents at 49.82. I am Dwayne Murley.
I'm Phil Gunderson. Gunderson's has a tradition of providing services unmatched in our community. Funeral, cremation, and pre-planning services with certified celebrants on staff, aftercare, video, and customized printed goods that are the standard. We offer live streaming options and community support with remembrance and educational programs. When it's time to look for a funeral home, look to Gunderson's.
Gunderson Funeral Home and Cremation Services.
It's a primal thing, the need to conquer fire and contain it in kettle-shaped vessels, cooking hot dogs and burgers to juicy perfection. You want to be king of the grill. Cool tools and secret sauces are great, but once you've mastered the basics, it's all about the bun. So the bakers at Village Hearth Buns bow to you, Grill King, by offering buns worthy of your meats. Whether the perfect pairing is a classic white or wheat bun or light Italian with sesame seeds, it's gotta be Village Hearth. Village Hearth Buns, baking our best for you.
Divine Intervention is online at yourfortdodge.com, on Twitter at jmike1400.
That's right. You can reach me at any of those places, especially on YouTube. Go to YouTube, 1400 KVFD, or my Facebook page, which is at AM 1400 KVFD. AM 1400 KVFD. Do that, will you? Of course, the real news here today is that for the first time in school history, for the first time in the history of Fort Dodge schools, the Fort Dodge softball team will be in the state championship round. I don't know who they're playing yet, but they beat Centennial, Ankeny Centennial, 5-3 today. A huge victory, and it's huge for our town. Congratulations, certainly, to I keep wanting to call her Royster. I'm sorry. That was her maiden name. My sincere congratulations to Coach Andy and the rest of her team, and I hope tomorrow that they can bring home the championship. They've certainly earned it in my mind and in my heart. This is just terrific news, and really want to thank Rob Jones for passionately following the girls' team this year and supporting them. Rob's a real down-to-earth, genuine sports fan, and he's only lived here for a year. He's originally from South Carolina, came up here from Texas. And he's as excited, I think, as any native to our city about what the girls have done. Because, again, he's been following them right along. And he's a good man. And I look forward to having Rob on the air maybe later today more likely tomorrow to talk about the game and the big game that will be going on at 5:30 tomorrow, I believe. We're going to carry the game, that's for sure, on one of our radio stations, but I'll have to get back with you on that information. I'll have to get back with you and tell you which of our stations will carry the game and what time the game is and, of course, who they're playing. Obviously, that hasn't been decided yet, or we'd know a little bit more. Here we go. I've just been texted. The Dodger girls, who are rated, not surprisingly, number 1 in the state, will play Cedar Rapids Kennedy in 5A championship game tomorrow at 5. So thank you for updating me. Again, the Fort Dodge Dodger girls, rated 1 in the state, are going to play number 2 rated Cedar Rapids Kennedy in the 5A championship game tomorrow at 5 o'clock. Now all I have to do is find out which radio station carries it. And I'm very excited for the Fort Dodge girls. Very excited. Boy, this isn't 6-girl basketball anymore. I'll tell you, these women are great athletes. These are great athletes, and boy, I'll tell you, the pride of our community is what the Fort Dodge softball team is right now. And no matter how tomorrow's game comes out, we should all be proud of them because they have really done a terrific job. And I just have a feeling they're going to win. I just have a feeling. I suppose you're never supposed to say that because you're going to jinx the team. And I already regret saying it for that reason, but I just have that feeling. They have just been so powerful all year. I don't know a single thing about Cedar Rapids Kennedy. I know where it is because my son and his wife live down there. By the way, my son's wife was Abby Garland, who was a pretty good softball pitcher for St. Edmund herself back in the day, back in the late 90s and early 2000s. Abby Garland, now Divine, was an excellent softball pitcher. She went to Clark College in Dubuque, and I was over in Dubuque to watch a reunion game that Abby had with some of her teammates. I don't know, a 10-year reunion or something, college reunion. And Abby took the mound, and I'll tell you, she still got it. She still got a fastball, I'll tell you. Excuse me. So a lot to be proud of when it comes to women's sports here in Fort Dodge. Excuse me here, I got to have a little drink. There, I feel better. I've been talking about the racial situation in Fort Dodge because it's my job to talk about things that happen nationally and how we approach them here in Fort Dodge. That's always my goal. And it's always going to be, well, my opinion. And again, you are always welcome to call 955-1400 and point out whether I'm right or wrong, or better yet, just offer your own opinion. I shouldn't even said you can call out. I don't want to make this about me versus you. I don't want to make this about me versus you. This is really something that we have to address. And we have to do it better than just groveling. And I'm speaking for white people now. I'm speaking to white people. Let's knock off the virtue signaling. Okay? Let's knock it off. Let's stop stepping forward and saying, I'm for Black Lives Matter. I'm in support of black people, and all these people like Flannery O'Connor are racist. Because it's nonsense. It's nonsense. Flannery O'Connor is a great American artist. And we should not be supporting tearing down statues of well-known Americans from our past. I mean, I could care less about the Confederate statues. That's a Southern thing. I don't care about that. But Frederick Douglass, Abraham Lincoln, and we don't have any leadership stepping forward to say, hey, this is wrong. This is wrong. What we need is a real live discussion, and I would like to offer this radio station as a forum to have it. Here, I'll start. I will address African American people. We don't understand you at all. There, how's that? Furthermore, we don't understand the no-snitch culture. Are you trying to develop a separate culture and a separate town that only black people are aware of and can take part of? Because there's been plenty of crimes in our town committed against black people, serious crimes, and nobody will say. That should stop. White people, we need to employ black people. The real problem, the root cause of our problem here in Fort Dodge is the same problem we have around the country. Slavery impoverished black people. They've been living in grinding poverty generationally. I'm not suggesting reparations. I don't believe in reparations. Education and, yes, preferential hiring for black people in the skills, educated people with the skills, including the trades. Everybody doesn't need a bachelor's degree. I think we've been through that. We need to celebrate those people who get married, stay married, raise their children, and rather than having 6 or 7 children by several different women, yes, we need to say to people, this is wrong. This is not something we should be doing. And we don't need to say it exclusively to black people. We need to say it, for God's sake, to plenty of white women in this town who think that their career choice is to have children and have the state support them. It's nonsense. Stop defending these things. It's the wrong way to go. Instead, all we have is this mumbling and shuffling and, well, cowardice on the part of our leadership. Now, Matt Bemrick's coming in here tomorrow, and I know Matt's a good man. He's coming in here tomorrow with Roger Porter and Charles Clayton, and I think this is a good place to start. Clayton is a leader. He doesn't agree with me a lot of times. Perhaps if he hears what I'm saying today, he won't agree with me at all. That's fine. I still, I absolutely respect Charles Clayton and the work he's doing. We don't have enough Charles Claytons. Everybody good with that? We do not have enough Charles Claytons in our community. We're not going to save the state of Iowa. We're not going to save the state of Iowa. Maybe we can save Fort Dodge. Maybe we can start right here. And surprisingly, Menke isn't here today. I don't know why Menke isn't here. I hope everything's okay with him. Menke's a pretty stand-up guy, and I know his heart's in the right place. But what I don't want to see is more middle-class solutions to the racial conflict that we have in Fort Dodge or in the state or the world. And this is what I mean. Feel-good policies. Here will come the white people out of the suburbs or the north end of town or whatever you want to say. Here they'll come, well, what we really need to do is throw money at the problem. Here we'll have fundraisers. We'll lobby for state support. We'll lobby for federal funds, and we'll give it to black people, and we'll go back to our all-white neighborhoods and stay there and say, look what a good job we did. No. The problem is too deep for that. There must be leadership. There must be leadership that's not afraid to say some things are wrong. Some things are wrong. White people, if you're racist, you are wrong. Black people, if you are racist, you are wrong. If you're committing crimes, if you're not living up to your responsibilities, white people, black people, believe me, we've got plenty of irresponsible white people in Fort Dodge. I'm beginning to think they're in the majority, for God's sake. But groveling in white liberal guilt, offering up some alms, and sneaking back to your house and waiting for the latest outrage to subside is not going to work. This nonsense out at Portland, and that's what it is, nonsense. What exactly is the goal? To push back on the police? Hooray. And police abuses have to be confronted. I don't think we have a problem here in Fort Dodge, but police abuses have to be confronted. Also, is the reaction to the police in black neighborhoods? Is it hostile? Is it deceptive, deceitful? Don't you trust? If you don't trust the police, tell us why. Maybe we can do something about it. These are real discussions, and they make all people. There's a lot of smug pronunciations around the country. Well, yes, a racial conversation, a racial reckoning makes some of you white people uncomfortable. Hell yes, it's going to make some of you white people uncomfortable, but it should make a few black people, African American people, uncomfortable as well. If we're going to move forward as a prosperous society, racism must end. And the root causes of racism must be addressed. Must be addressed. Lack of employment opportunities, lack of education, or, frankly, disinterest in acting white. I hear that every now and then. Oh, you're acting white. You have a job, you're responsible, you're acting white. What the hell does that mean? Do we have any leaders in our town who are willing to step up and have a real conversation that makes us all uncomfortable? Because a conversation that includes a bunch of white sociology females talking down their nose to us about white fragility or white privilege or reparations or whatever the hell is going on in a white female academic's mind isn't cutting it. And by the way, I don't need a lot of rage either from African American people. It's time to put that aside. If you want to express rage, frankly, find a place to do it. I mean, we can work these things out. This conversation is going to be so difficult, there is going to be some rage. Is that what we're afraid of? Actual confrontation? Racism must end. And it's not going to end with what we've been doing. Building more housing, throwing money at the problem, rewarding having multiple children. All of these things have been abject failures. And the biggest failure by any group has been white people who want to do a little bit, who want to look good doing something. Hi there, I'm a white person. As you know, I'm concerned about the black problem. I'm really concerned and moved by the plight of African Americans, blah, blah, blah. And I'm here with a little bit of money and another program. Oh, God, another program. Are we really going to do that? Another program. No, laws. Laws that address the root causes of racism and inequality. And that's economic inequality. And I guarantee you, ladies and gentlemen, the last people that want to discuss economic inequality are white liberals around the Democratic Party. And that's the truth, Ruth. The last thing they want to do is confront the economic underpinnings of ugly inequality and really racism that they've been a part of. If you're looking at an African American person and going, oh, you poor, poor black person, like they're helpless without you, you're a racist. I don't care. That is plantation. That's a plantation mentality that a lot of white liberals have. And, frankly, business people. Enough. Enough of this condescending crap. It's time. Are you serious or not? Are you serious? Are we going to have actual leadership? By the way, I'm sorry Terry Menke isn't here. I suppose he's in Portland rioting with Fritz. I don't know. But that's not the deal. Let's have a conversation. Let's get to know each other better. Let's move forward. It's 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Councilman Conrad is next.
Your news, your town, your station. KVFD News when it breaks.
Big tech executives on the Capitol Hill Grill. I'm Lisa Brady, Fox News. Antitrust concerns, the main focus for giants like Facebook, Apple, Google. Amazon CEO Jeff Bezos downplaying the online giant's size.
Amazon accounts for less than 1% of the $25 trillion global retail market and less than 4% of U.S. retail.
But lawmakers are concerned about the potential to squash competition and speech. In addition to privacy issues, President Trump has threatened to use executive orders to, as he puts it, bring fairness if Congress does not act. A possible breakthrough in Portland, Oregon, where a federal courthouse has become a flashpoint for protesters. Under a new agreement between the state and federal governments, Oregon State Police are supposed to step up so a drawdown of federal officers can begin.
Now, to do that, they're going to have to address this situation. The park adjacent to the federal courthouse, and it's kind of a base camp or staging area for these violent protests that happen every night about after midnight. Now, until that's secure, agents tell me the attacks are not going to stop. Federal agents don't like going in there because it makes them very vulnerable and open to the claim, made again today by Governor Kate Brown, that the feds are, quote, a occupying force, that they brought violence to the city, even though they remain largely to a two-block area.
Fox's William Lajeunesse. The Trump administration has said it only sent more officers to help protect the federal courthouse because local law enforcement was not. The administration plans to keep federal officers on standby. The president's visiting Texas, and Republican Congressman Louis Gohmert was supposed to be traveling with him, but he tested positive this morning for coronavirus. Gohmert had been known to not wear a mask and says he's been wearing one more in the last few weeks than he had for months. This raising renewed concern about Capitol Hill protocols. America is listening to Fox News.
Hey, you should move over. Red right return.
Right, red right return.
No, just red right return because
No, I'm saying red right return, but then right to agree.
Okay, but you're on the...
I should have said correct. I know it's red right return, but...
You're on the left and it's red right return. Red right return!
The tides can turn quick on the water. Progressive has you covered as a leader in boat insurance. Get a quote today at Progressive.com.
Oh, I was on the left. Right.
Please stop talking.
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates.
Hey, if you're looking to cut costs and free up some cash on a monthly basis, start today with Pure Talk USA. Now, the average family of four is saving over $800 a year on cell phone service by switching to Pure Talk USA. Now, every plan includes unlimited talk and text. And by the way, it just starts at $20. So switch to Pure Talk today. Just dial pound 250 keyword Pure Radio. Pure Talk USA, simply smarter wireless. You'll have the option to receive a one-time auto-dialed text from Pure Talk USA.
A public memorial service for a civil rights icon.
America and the state of Georgia will be forever stronger, freer, and more just because of Congressman John Lewis. But we must do our part to build on his work and keep his legacy alive.
Georgia Governor Brian Kemp among the speakers paying tribute as Lewis is honored at the state capitol ahead of his funeral tomorrow in Atlanta. Thousands paying respects in Washington as he lay in state in the U.S. Capitol Rotunda for 2 days. While other tech giants are the focus of a Capitol Hill hearing today, Twitter unveils a new effort to make it harder to spread hate speech and violent content.
Starting July 30th, Twitter says it will block links promoting hate speech and violence. While the company already bans this type of offensive content on the site, its policies don't extend to URLs shared in tweets, allowing bad actors to link folks to outside pages or posts, which may break Twitter's rules if shared directly to the platform. Twitter support posting hateful conduct and violence are now link content categories that we may block, adding accounts dedicated to sharing these types of links may be suspended. Kristen Goodwin, Fox News.
Renewed concern from the Federal Reserve about the potential economic impact from an ongoing surge of coronavirus in multiple states. More than 20 states considered to have a severe outbreak, a half dozen reporting new single-day death records yesterday. At the end of its latest policy meeting today, the Fed pledging to keep a key interest rate near zero for now, but warning the pandemic will weigh heavily on economic activity. That hasn't stopped Wall Street from rallying. The Dow's been up more than 200 points at times heading into the close. The Nasdaq's been up more than 1%. I'm Lisa Brady, and this is Fox News.
With your KVFD news update, I'm Rob Jones. A third inmate from the Fort Dodge Correctional Facility has died after contracting COVID-19. 48-year-old Timothy McGee Jr. passed Monday night at the University of Iowa Hospital. The Department of Corrections press release says that McGee had multiple pre-existing medical conditions. He was serving a 15-year sentence on multiple theft convictions. His sentence began in the fall of 2018. As of Tuesday, the Department of Corrections was reporting 336 inmates and 30 staff members from the Fort Dodge prison have tested positive for COVID-19 this month. Webster County Public Health issued a COVID-19 update Tuesday evening that says the county's case count is now at 672 total cases, an increase of 64 cases since late last week. However, over half of those cases are attributed to the Fort Dodge prison. Of the cases for residents in Webster County, 313 of those have recovered, which leaves just 25 active cases in the county. The venue in the murder trial of the Fort Dodge man accused of killing Reverend Al Henderson has now been set. 37-year-old Joshua Pendleton will be tried in Scott County on charges of first-degree murder and first-degree robbery. Pendleton is accused of killing Henderson outside of St. Paul Lutheran Church here in Fort Dodge in October of 2019. The trial has not yet been given a start date, as jury trials are not permitted to start until September due to COVID-19. The start of the trial is expected also to be delayed further than that because of the Scott County courts being backlogged. In sport, state softball tournament action from yesterday in Class 3A, Algona fell 3-1 to Williamsburg. Bulldogs managed just one hit. That one hit was a solo home run in the sixth by Algona's Cam Etherington. She ended her career at Algona with the loss after leading the team to back-to-back state tournament appearances. In Class 1A, Newell Fonda fell to 7-seed Lisbon 3-0. The game was a 1-0 pitcher's duel until the 7th when Lisbon tacked on 2 insurance runs. Newell Fonda ends their season at 18-3 and will graduate just 2 seniors. Class 5A state semifinal game between number 1 Fort Dodge and number 5 Ankeny Centennial is currently in progress. Find out if the Dodgers punched their ticket to the first state championship game in program history, as we'll have the final score and story on the game later on today. For KVFD from the Jerry Sheeter Newsroom, I'm Rob Jones.
Here's the AM 1400 KVFD weatherology forecast. Chance for scattered storms this afternoon, otherwise mainly cloudy skies. Highs level off around 85, winds out of the northeast 5 to 10 miles per hour. Chance for scattered storms tonight 64, overcast skies. Chance for scattered storms again tomorrow, highs level off around 83, mainly cloudy skies expected. From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. Currently it's 88.
Finding the next job is a big job, and that part of what you do is a little tough right now. Because of that, Lowe's for Pros is here to help. Get $400 in leads on us with a free 1-year subscription from HomeAdvisor to connect to jobs that make sense for you. Sign up at lowesforpros.com/proloyalty to get started. Just one more reason why Lowe's is the new home for pros. Now let's get to work. Subscription and $400 lead credit subject to HomeAdvisor's approval and terms. Valid for new HomeAdvisor customers only. Lowe's loyalty required. More terms apply. Valid through 9/9 U.S. only.
The Doctor of Truth.
Does anyone have anything they'd like to confess?
That AM 1400 KVFD.
That's right. If you have any confession to make, here it is, 515-955-1400. Nevin Conrad is here, City Councilman Conrad. He's a Catholic, so bless you, Nevin, for you have sinned. What are your sins here today anyway? You want to accept me as your confessor or not?
You want me to do my default for when I went to confession? Say a lot since the last time.
Yeah, just do what I do. Save them up over years, and then you're in there for like a half hour or something. And the priest is going, it's always good, Mike, if you come back a little more often, and so we don't have to do this all day. But
when was the date of your last confession? Oh, that's a good question.
September 20th, 1980. Is that close? I mean, anyway, the really big news today, and sincere congratulations and mighty congratulations go out to the Fort Dodge Senior High girls who beat Ankeny Centennial today, a tough team. They beat them 5-3, and they will meet Cedar Rapids Kennedy, the second-ranked team in the state, and that'll be tomorrow at 5 o'clock, and I still have to find out which one of our radio stations is carrying the game. But again, absolutely, congratulations to Coach Andy and her young athletes, and good luck tomorrow. And I know you're not supposed to jinx the team, but I just have a feeling for them. I just have a feeling, Nevin. I do.
I'm not saying anything.
No
Well, jinxing on my
I know.
end.
I see. Gosh, if they lose, I'm going to be escorted out of town on a rail, I suppose.
I will say, if you're going out there, you should probably get out there pretty early tomorrow, because I wasn't there today. I'm hoping to get there tomorrow. But the pictures I saw today, it was pretty well packed up, and I can only imagine it's going to be even more packed.
Oh, yeah.
Night.
We'll have a lot more people from Cedar Rapids Kennedy here.
Mm-hmm.
And they'll be – the good thing is they'll probably want to stay the night. I mean, it's 2.5 hours.
Yeah, when I got back into town driving through, our restaurants are definitely probably in a good mood today.
Well, that's good.
There were lines all the way across town.
Good. Well, we need that. Restaurants are especially hard hit with that damn coronavirus. I'm getting a little sick of it. Why don't you get on the council and pass a resolution that there's going to be no more COVID?
I wish. I was talking to my wife the other day. One of the just common things that I really felt the other day, we'd just take our boys, we'd go out to Target, walk around, they'd eventually cry for a toy, and we'd have to get them a toy.
Sure.
But it's the little things. It's taking them, just out to Target. And I think for me, 5 days a week at a minimum, I'm out of the house. But for them, unless they're going out to the farm with the babysitter, they're not going anyplace. So they got to be feeling pretty cooped up, and it's been extremely hot, so outside has been kind of hit or miss.
I know you're a baseball fan. Did you see that ridiculous Mets-Braves game last Sunday night where they had cardboard cutouts behind the plate?
Yeah. So this year, I think I talked to you about it before. My number got called on the Cubs season ticket list.
Oh, that's right.
And I thought, my dad, if he was still alive, he would kill me if I did not take this opportunity.
Yeah.
Because if I didn't do it this year, I was off the list. I had to restart, which is another 20 years.
I suppose.
And so I did it, and then what do you know? This is
God,
the year.
that's a bummer.
But I got an email from the other day that I can call in to a Zoom call tomorrow and record reactions for big plays that they'll play on the big screen if I wanted to. And I was like, why am I going to do that? But then I thought maybe I could be like yelling at an umpire or something like that. I don't know.
Well, it's something to think about. This is a very weird season, a very weird year for all of us.
Absolutely.
And I don't know. I guess we're going to do what we're going to do, and I have heard some good reports, but mainly what I hear is wear a mask. That's the most important thing you can do in your life.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't have the solution. I haven't a clue what to do about COVID. I do wear a mask when it's called for. I wash my hands frequently. What else can I do? Is there something else?
I don't know.
I don't either.
I will say, at the start of this Menards going out there was almost no one wearing a mask. And I went out there the other day. Granted, it's now required. But even before it was required, you're starting to see a lot more, even grocery shopping this weekend, a lot more people out there wearing masks. And I guess, from my perspective, I don't know if I'm sick. Who knows?
Who knows?
It's asymptomatic. Right. So I figure with the limited time I'm out of the house, it doesn't hurt to wear a mask. So.
Well, I noticed at Menards, I was out there earlier this month, and they had a what I call a mask Nazi at the door, and insisting we wear masks, and that was going to be mandatory on July 13th. There for a while, they were only letting so many people in the store. Mm-hmm. They had people in line outside the store.
Yep.
And I thought, well, I don't want to go to Menards that bad. So, but they have required masks, I think, around since the 13th of July. Yep. Anyway, Nevin Conrad is a city councilman. I've been on this kick here the last couple of days that we need to address race in our town for the reason being that we can't address race anywhere else. And I think that we need to start where we're standing, where we're living. Now, do you have any... I've also been saying, I should warn you so I don't go down your throat about this. The old ideas of, well, let's all get together and express our commitment to black lives and condemn racism. We're going to do this. We're white people. We do this. And then we're going to throw a bunch of money at the problem. And then we're going to walk away feeling good about ourselves. That's got to end. I mean, it's time for a genuine and honest conversation about race. Wherever, Second Baptist Church, Fort Dodge, Dodger Stadium, this radio station, wherever. But I don't know if any weeping white liberal guilt will be allowed. We need to talk about what we can really do in our town to help people get out of the lives that they're in, because black people, and I believe this absolutely, are in poverty that you can trace directly back to the Civil War and to slavery. I shouldn't say Civil War, but to slavery, and to, frankly, racial discrimination since the Civil War that closed the doors as far as job opportunities are concerned to African American people, so they stayed poor and resentful. And by the way, I don't blame them a bit. I don't blame them a bit. I've said this before on the air. One of the most traumatizing experiences of my life has been to see little black kids, 4 or 5 years old, when they were in my neighborhood, and they had beautiful smiles and bright eyes, and they were so energetic and so excited about life. And 5 or 10 years later, they're bitter, and their eyes are dead, and their mouth is twisted into a type of bitterness. That's what we need to do something about. I don't know what, but I'm throwing out suggestions. Do you have any ideas?
I'm all open for suggestions. I think if anybody at a local level had a solution, you would have heard it by now. But
yeah,
I mean, what it boils down to,
I shouldn't say solution. A starting point. A starting point.
And so I guess right before I answer that, I just got invited to, it's called Constituents in Cars, a drive-up town hall where local elected officials, I don't know who all is going to be there yet, in Merriweather Park, which used to be the mini park down in Pleasant Valley, that local elected officials, again, not sure who or what, are going to be down there, and it's the availability of constituents to come up, ask questions, either drive by or walk up, ask questions, give comments. I think, if I'm understanding correctly, that some of the recent unrest is probably the main focal point or the main direction of this. But I presume we're going to be there, so it's open to whatever you have questions, comments of. So that is an opportunity that's coming up. That's next Tuesday, 6 p.m., down at Merriweather Park in Pleasant Valley. So there is an opportunity for actual sit-down discussion in terms of solutions or even starting points.
Is this invitational only or what?
No, it's wide open. Anybody can come in. Solution starting points, again, I don't know. And I don't know because, let's be honest, I grew up and I've lived in this town, which is 90+% white population.
Well, I'd say more than that. But
I went to a high school school in general, where I bet we were 98, 99% white in the school. And so I don't know, other than, from listening, from hearing, from individuals, I don't know what the right starting point is. I don't know what a good solution is. And that's why I think these events, these discussions are important. But yeah, on a local level too, the question becomes, this needs to be a national conversation. But if you look at our national government at the moment, good luck having any sort of rational conversation.
Don't
about
get me
much
started.
of anything.
I don't know what's going to happen. Even if Trump loses and Biden becomes president, is that going to be oh my God, it's a bright new day now? Yeah, right.
And I'm becoming more and more cynical as I enter into my 30s, my ripe old age.
Well, yeah, God, it really happens early, doesn't it?
But
by the time you get to my age, you're just a bitter, everything sucks. Everything sucks.
So polarized, and you're seeing that seep down to even low levels of government. And that's not how I believe in government. That's not how I think government should be. But I don't know what the ways out of it, because it ties into, we got an election coming up, but primary elections, when you have parties, and usually in primaries, you're appealing to the party base, which is your bookends of the spectrum.
Mm-hmm.
So a centrist like myself, granted I lean left, but still in the centrist spectrum, I look around at elected officials at higher levels, and I'm going, well, who up there is like me? I go, because every issue shouldn't have to be a cookie cutter where you vote based off the letter behind your last name. There should be consensus, but again, cynical. I just don't see it happening anytime soon.
Don't get cynical. It's too. Even I think there's some sort of hope, and I'm the resident old grump of Fort Dodge.
I don't know. And you look at, your John McCain's, and granted, Biden is more of a polarizing figure now just because of the environment we're in. But you look back into the 90s with your McCain's and your Bidens; those were your centrist people that would come together to make common sense decisions. But again, different world today.
I can't, I know you come from a Democratic Party family, and that's fine. And I spent many years as a Democrat, but I'm more of an FDR, LBJ Democrat than a Bill Clinton, Barack Obama Democrat. But
who's your favorite president?
Oh, Johnson.
Johnson,
and Johnson was one of the most unpopular presidents ever. And I say that with Franklin Roosevelt on occasion taking first place in my mind. But Johnson did some amazing things. Civil Rights Act in 1964, Voting Rights Act, Medicare. I mean, he was a president. These guys, well, I think we're going to, have a little Obamacare. Oh, boy. Or Bill Clinton, let's do NAFTA. Why don't you go sit over there with Monica and shut up?
It's been a while since I've been on, but we got a Clinton in there. I'm happy.
But that's Franklin Delano Roosevelt and Lyndon Johnson were giants.
Mm-hmm.
Giants. And what have we shriveled down to? Joe Biden and Donald Trump? You have to be kidding me. And here I am talking national politics, but it is very frustrating.
This is my time. I love national election season. I'm a junkie for poll numbers, even though in 2016 it proved that polls were way off. Something about polling and big elections just.
2016, Hillary Clinton campaign decided to just sit back and let Trump hang himself. Just sit back and let Trump hang himself. Now, what do we see with Joe Biden? He's in the basement. They don't want to let him out.
I will say the one thing that I've noticed so far with this election as compared to 2016, if you look at the numbers in 16, incumbent down ballot Republicans, whether it be senators or House races, polled quite a bit up from where Trump was polling leading up to the election.
Right.
We've got that flip this election cycle where Trump is polling quite a bit higher than your incumbent Republican senators and representatives. So I don't necessarily, the way I view it right now, I don't necessarily see Trump's numbers making a huge swing upward. I think that they will come upward. You'll see that equalization as you get near an election naturally.
Yeah, that happens.
But the Senate prospects of a huge blue wave in the Senate, I see those Republican senators and representatives numbers catching back up to about equate to where Trump's at.
I have no idea. I remember thinking Mondale was going to beat Reagan years ago, and let's just say that didn't happen. Anyway, Nevin Conrad is our guest. He's a city councilman. Let's talk about something really serious and that pertains to our lives. Junk days. What's up with you guys on the council and the evil Dr. Ferrick? You're always trying to kill my junk days.
No, you know me.
All right.
When it came in, was it 2 years ago where they tried to make the switch? Who was the one person
there you were
didn't want it? I have, without question, openly said this from before my time on the council. I love junk days.
I love junk days.
Them. I love people going around. I like seeing of my stuff that I put out. I like seeing what people think is actually good.
Yeah, right.
1
year I had people take all my junk. Before junk days.
Oh, see, that's like the first place ribbon right there is when you put it down and it's all gone. But and then I heard your segment with David the other day.
It was a little raucous, wasn't it? That was fun.
And it was. So I'm gonna start asking the questions. And it was interesting with the comments about kind of the picker mentality of recycling these things, which I think is a component of it. But I will say what we've got coming up, which it seemed like a consensus was still going to happen this fall, which it should, because when we moved it from spring to fall, we said there will be a junk day this year, which we need to for sure honor that. That will still happen this fall. And as I said at the workshop on Monday, I'm a skeptic when it comes to any of these changes.
Yeah.
But the pilot program we put in place this summer, I like it. I like it a lot. It's essentially the exact same kind of service as Junk Day, but you've got the entire summer, every other week, you can do it, where you can say, hey, I've got my stuff right now. Come pick it up. They'll come grab it. Plus, you can get rid of appliances, tires, all that other stuff that you'd normally have to do. You couldn't do on Junk Day, but you do have to buy a tag for them. So yeah, I really like that. I again approached that conversation with that skepticism, but looking through the concept and then seeing it in action, I agree. I agree with David. Don't tell him I said that. That I think we are actually, by doing the summer program, is expanding and offering a better service than just the 1 day a year junk days that we have been offering. Because
we had 2 times a year there.
It used to be a ways back, spring and fall, which I know Terry still pushes for that too. So
I don't really understand where the overwhelming push is coming from to change what we have as far as junk days. I think the citizens of Fort Dodge are mostly satisfied with the way junk days has been run. It seems to be driven mainly by the council and the city staff.
I would agree with that. And, I think the way David framed it too, it's about efficiency, and the current junk day process is absolutely not efficient. It does cost a lot of money, but I've always viewed that as a necessary expense. I totally agree with you that the citizens of Fort Dodge appreciate it and want that opportunity. But with that being said, what we're offering over the summer and what we have offered is the exact same service. You just get more of it, and it's more convenient. Honestly, I've been meaning to. I got to go through my junk and get it set out here before they wrap it up. But the push has been there just to make it more efficient, and that's when they talked about you driving it out to the recycling center or wherever.
That was a red hot idea.
Hey,
we have something. We offer you a new opportunity, citizens of Fort Dodge. We're going to open the recycling center Saturday mornings from 8 to 12 for your convenience, so you can haul your own junk out there. We're the city council. Yes, you can pat us on the back.
Yeah,
that's
that was a non-starter for me.
That was a real non-starter. I don't know where that idea.
But
did Allstock come up with that idea? Come on.
I don't know. We've what they're putting in place is good. And I say that, again, as a huge skeptic of any changes and a huge advocate of Junk Day. I do. I think it's a good program.
Well,
And the other thing, too, is when we do have the Junk Day in the fall, it's going to be on Monday, which I think is another good change, too. It's not in the middle of a week where you forget about it. You've got the weekend to get your stuff set out, and then they come by. They don't screw up the workers' schedules too much in the middle of the week. So I think that switch to Monday is also a good change as well.
The switch to Monday.
Yeah.
I really find the reasons for changing junk days at all unconvincing. Fury brought up yesterday, and I find it hard to believe he's that anal retentive, but perhaps he is. Is that lean government. He's a big believer in lean government, and that's fine, and he does it very well. I mean, we're very fortunate to have Fury here in our town. But the difference between $28,000, which would cost us as taxpayers in this new system, and $90,000, which it costs us in the previous system, the one I love, as far as the overall city budget, that's peanuts.
Well, and I think the $28,000, if I recall, like $20,000 of that was for roll-off dumpsters that we got as well too. So I think that should be even less. But that's the thing is with this program, and part of the reason why I like it so much is, again, I think we're offering a better service that's more convenient for people, and it at the same point in time, it's going to cost the city a fraction of what it would. Now, with that, I haven't made my mind up on having an additional junk day on top of what we offer. I think for sure we have it this year. And some of the comments at the table were, well, let's just leave junk days in place, keep this summer program that we're doing, and then see pretty much how our junk days go going forward. If people have this other opportunity, is our actual one-day junk day huge like it has been, or are we seeing it decrease where you're seeing that move from the one day of year to people going towards what I think is the more convenient system throughout the summer? So I think it's an ongoing process where we run both and we evaluate year by year and see what gets used, what doesn't get used, and that's going to be the telling thing is,
well, the mayor,
how are the people of Fort Dodge using it? That'll tell you what they want.
Right. I dropped in the council chambers the other night. Originally, I was going to be there because I didn't think Rob Jones, our news guy, was going to be there. But
we were blessed with you for a good 2 minutes, Mike.
But I heard the junk days conversation, and then Mayor Bemrick said the magic words, "We want to change the culture." And I thought, if I stay, I'm going to be up at the podium, and Matt's going to be rapping me down, and everybody's going to be barking at me, and so I'm just going to leave and save everybody the aggravation.
To be fair, I was shocked that you still didn't come up to the podium.
It took all my resolve to get up and leave, because really what I wanted to do is get up there and say, "You're all wrong and I'm right."
Now that is no different than usual.
Well, there were some suggestions and some comments that I heard up there that didn't make any sense at all. It just seemed like spite. They didn't like junk day, so they're going to get rid of it. I mean, who says or thinks things like that? I just don't like it, so it's got to go. Excuse me, you're not the only one in Fort Dodge, you know?
Well, that's why there's 7 of us up there.
Yes. But even you 7, I wonder if you want to do this. I mean,
you know me, you know my position.
Yeah, I do. What I'm saying is 7 people and the mayor or whatever, they don't make the whole town.
Mm-hmm.
The feelings of our citizens don't seem to be considered. It's just that we have the attitude seems to be is we have the authority and we're going to do it.
Well, and you saw that a couple years back when that initial direction to make a shift was done, and I think that was reversed within 12 hours.
Yeah, it was. Oh, yeah. A lot of courage again on some of the council members' part.
Quick turnaround there. But yeah, I love junk days. I have been out in junk. I used to do it as a kid, right around the block. I remember one year I grabbed all of my parents' neighbors' stuff and put it on our curb so that I could, and I put it all on the line so I could see exactly what gets taken throughout the process. So, and some of the stuff, like I put out an old mower last year that they're not going to pick up, but somebody comes by that is handy with mowers, thinks they can fix it up, boom.
They take it.
They got a new mower right there.
Yeah, some guy was on yesterday. Oh, they park in the middle of the street. Oh, gosh. Let me get out the violins. That's a tragedy.
It absolutely, for whatever quarter of the city you're in on that day, it is a bit of a traffic nightmare.
Well, let's have the police over there writing tickets or something then. I mean, that's something that can be.
Let's get some more police officers.
Well, that's an idea. That's a great idea. But if you want to change the culture, a great way to do it is like a $700 ticket for fireworks. That hasn't worked yet. But people do get hit with them.
This year What were your feelings on this year? I thought it was much calmer
I thought
than
the
it has
first year
been.
was crazy, and I
was.
thought they've been much better every year since. Yeah. And really, there's a group of people out there that don't like fireworks, period, end of story. As a matter of fact, there's a movement down in Des Moines to overturn the law that was passed just a couple of years ago, as if giving the city absolute power over fireworks. Each individual city, whether we have fireworks or not, isn't enough. And by the way, did you see the overhead video of Des Moines that has banned fireworks within the city limits? It looked like a carnival.
I saw the one from Los Angeles.
Los Angeles was great. Wow. I mean, there were explosions all over town.
Well, that's, you know, we have considerably shrunk the window to 4 days.
Yeah.
And so I think the people that are adamantly against fireworks, well, that's a necessary give and take there. You've got a 4-day window where, you know, if you've got a dog that acts up, got to get the pills ready for the dog or whatever you need for those 4 days. You're still going to have your stray people shooting them off. I thought it was much better in June than it has been in any of the previous years. But I thought this year, you know, you still got people not listening. But for the most part, it was limited to that 4-day window. Yeah. And I thought was substantially better.
It's festive. It's the 4th of July, for God's sake. We didn't have fireworks in town this year either because of the COVID thing. So I'm glad that we did. And by the way, ladies and gentlemen, it's the 21st century. You all have video in your iPhones. If somebody stopped in the middle of your street and rummaging through garbage, take the video, get the license plate number, get the Mutt's make and model car or whatever, and maybe that'll have a little impact. You know.
Yeah.
You know. Nevin, you know, is there anything that you'd like to bring up? We've been talking here pretty much about.
I'm trying to think of kind of what else we have going on. The mall project, for all I know, is still moving forward. I believe there are discussions about demolishing the former JCPenney and Yonkers, the anchor stores, still somewhat soon, with a total demolition maybe being end of year, start of next year, is the last I had heard. And then I'm really impressed with this group. Which there's other projects in town where I'm not very impressed with those groups. But this one, I mean, they're on the ball. They've made the connections and are doing good work.
My friend has a condo up on Lake Okoboji, and I went up and spent a little time with him over the weekend, went out for a boat ride, all that stuff. His next-door neighbor, and I actually got to meet him, and he's Mike Fishmeyer's brother.
Oh.
He's the guy who's heading the mall project down here. DGI, I think, isn't that the name of the group out of Des Moines or something? Boy, those guys are busy, I'll tell you.
Yeah, I can't remember the name, but it's an extremely good group. And
yeah, he was a real bright guy and a real good guy.
To be fair, you know, you talk a project of this magnitude, and when we had our initial conversations about this, my again, skepticism was, if we think all these new places are going to come in and fill these stores, why haven't they already come in? Well, the answer to that turns out is quite simple. They didn't want to invest in what we had. They like this concept. If you pair it up with the retail coach that we've hired as well, we're seeing a lot of movement. There's no final things for sure that I'm aware of, but from the kind of 10,000-foot conversations we've had, I'm pretty optimistic about this, and I think it'll be a huge attraction. And given our current state with state softball, going forward with state softball, I mean, what better than to have a huge retail spot for them to utilize?
I'm looking forward to it. Nevin Conrad's been our guest. He's our councilman at large. Thank you, Nevin.
Thanks, Mike.
This is AM 1400 KVFD.
Michael Devine, the Doctor of Truth.
Does anyone have anything they'd like to confess?
That AM 1400 KVFD.
It's 3:39, the closing market report coming up.
President Trump is fighting back, but he needs honest media. That's why millions are tuning into Newsmax TV. Every weeknight, you can watch Greg Kelly rip the media's hypocrisy. Plus, see Sean Spicer, Michelle Malkin, Mike Huckabee, Herman Cain, and more. Everyone is talking about Newsmax TV. Find it on DirecTV, Xfinity, Dish, Spectrum, Cox, Optimum, Fios, Uverse, Suddenlink, Mediacom, WOW, and more. Or just check your cable guide. Newsmax TV is now America's fastest-growing cable news channel. Watch it today.
Here's a look at how the markets closed today. September corn down 4.5 at 315.5. December down 3 3/4 at 326 1/4. March corn down 3 cents at 338 1/4. May down 3 at 345 3/4. August soybeans down 5 1/4 at 891 1/2. September down 3 1/4 at 884 1/2. November down 2 1/4 at 885 1/4. January down 1 3/4 at 891 1/2. September wheat closed up 9 1/4 cents at 532 3/4. Soybean meal down $2 a ton at 286.90. August live cattle up 55 at 101.45. October up 105 at 106.05. August feeder cattle up 127 at 141.97. September up 127 at 142.57. August lean hogs down 112 at 53.07. October down 90 cents at 49.82. I am Dwayne Murley.
Here's the AM 1400 KVFD weatherology forecast. Chance for scattered storms this afternoon, otherwise mainly cloudy skies. Highs level off around 85, winds out of the northeast 5 to 10 miles per hour. Chance for scattered storms tonight, 64, overcast skies. Chance for scattered storms again tomorrow, highs level off around 83, mainly cloudy skies expected. From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. Currently, it's 88.
Two leading health organizations say children are ingesting too much sugar, and most of that comes from drinks like sodas and sports drinks. Hi, I'm Julie Harker with Healthy Living on Brownfield. The American Academy of Pediatrics and the American Heart Association say the biggest source of added sugars is not what children eat, it's what they drink, and the groups are recommending changes. They want healthy drinks, which are water and milk, to be the default beverages on children's menus and in vending machines. They want federal nutrition assistance programs to make sure people have access to healthy foods and beverages and to discourage drinking sugary drinks. They want policymakers at all levels of government to consider taxing sugary drinks like soda and increase education. They want federal and state governments to support efforts to decrease the marketing of sugary drinks to children and teenagers. And they say hospitals should have policies that limit or discourage buying sugary drinks. Why is the American Heart Association involved? There is strong evidence, they say, that links added sugars to increased risk of heart disease and other long-term health problems. They put it this way. On average, children are drinking 30 gallons of sugary drinks every year, enough to fill a bathtub. And that doesn't even include the added sugars they're getting from food. I'm Julie Harker, and this is Healthy Living on Brownfield.
Tom has been a teacher for over 40 years. One day, I think one of the students had asked the question and he didn't remember the answer. And I also noticed that he was letting his class out earlier than they were supposed to let out. I was really starting to worry.
Levi and I talked about how it would change our lives, but he was there beside me.
When something feels different, it could be Alzheimer's. Now is the time to talk. Visit alz.org/ourstories to learn more. A message from the Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council.
My mother was always very active and independent, and she was familiar with her neighborhood. But one day, she stopped at the stop sign for much longer than usual. She wasn't even really sure where she was at.
It's important for you to talk to someone about it. I felt so much better after my son told me, Mom, we'll figure it out.
When something feels different, it could be Alzheimer's. Now is the time to talk. Visit alz.org/ourstories to learn more. A message from the Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council.
Michael Devine, the mayor of Manville.
It's a fancy title for a part-time job.
Michael Devine at AM 1400 KVFD.
KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge. I'm Michael Devine, and we're delighted to welcome to the program for the very first time Teresa Greenfield, who has won the Democratic nomination for the U.S. Senate and will oppose Joni Ernst this fall. Good morning, or good afternoon, or wherever we're at here today.
Good morning, Mike. Thanks for the invitation to join you and your listeners this morning.
No, I'm delighted to have you on. There are a number of issues that we need help with in Washington, here in Iowa, of course. The farm economy is always number one. We've been a little bit concerned and disappointed, frankly, in the Trump administration's approach to support for ethanol. You would be a freshman senator, of course, if you did win the election this fall. What could you as a freshman senator do to help us out with the price of ethanol?
Well, Mike, I have to tell you what the devastating impact from Senator Joni Ernst's vote to have Andrew Wheeler lead the EPA has part of the reason I'm in this race. You know, I'm a businesswoman. I've worked most of my life in small businesses. I'm a mother of four. I'm absolutely a scrappy farm kid. And I came of age during that farm crisis and watched that devastation. When I graduated high school, interest rates were 21%. And I really take this personal, which is, I think it's important that Iowans know that about me. I went to auctions where the contents of a family's home was put out on a hay rack, you know, auctioned off for $1 or $2, and they left our communities. My parents were devastated also. They had to sell their crop dusting business. They had to sell their hogs. They never farmed again. And us 5 kids, of course, ended up leaving the rural area. I certainly wasn't a job for me, and I couldn't farm. Today, you know, due to haphazard trade and reckless tariffs and what I call the Ernst ethanol waivers, net farm income is down 75% since 2013, and bankruptcy rates are at an 8-year high. And so I think that our rural economy needs a senator that is going to vote in a way that puts the interests of Iowans and certainly our ag economy first and foremost. So for ethanol, you know, we need to make sure that we are rebuilding the requirements for the RFS, and that we are voting for leaders of EPA who are not fossil fuel lobbyists, but rather folks that are going to support our ethanol industry.
That seems to be the pain in our neck. We do have a lot of fossil fuel lobbyists in the Trump administration. People close to President Trump come from oil states, and of course, oil states don't want to blend ethanol at all. They resent it, and they've constructed a real web of waivers to get around the requirement to blend ethanol. That's really where the problem lies. Could you go to work on that right away if we did elect you?
Absolutely, I'll go to work on it. And you're right on, Mike. There's been 85 waivers issued. There's another 58 petitions, I believe, pending. And this all goes directly back to the fact that Senator Joni Ernst has taken massive amounts of campaign cash from big oil corporate PACs, including Exxon's corporate PAC, Chevron's corporate PAC, Marathon's corporate PAC, to name a few. And, you know, we've been sounding the alarm since I got in this race that Senator Ernst is putting her corporate PAC donors ahead of hardworking Iowans. And jobs have been lost. You know, biofuel plants have been idled. Manufacturing jobs have been lost. Corn producers, I mean, they're suffering greatly on the price of corn. And I think it's really important for Iowans to know that I'm not accepting one dime of corporate PAC money. I'm not afraid to stand up to those corporate special interests whose priority is influencing our elected leaders and boosting their bottom line. I'm running in this race to put Iowans first and look forward to voting for someone who's going to lead the EPA, who's going to support the interests of our biofuels industry, our renewable fuels industry, and Iowa.
Who are some of your biggest campaign contributors?
Well, you know, I think I'm so proud of are Iowans. Since the day I got in this race, I have been focused on building an incredibly strong grassroots team in all 99 counties. And so far, I believe we've had over 24,000 contributions from Iowans in all 99 counties. And we're going to continue to take every bit of my grit and resolve and scrappy and be talking to Iowans in every single county and asking for their vote, letting them know that it's an honor to run and it would be an honor to serve. And we're going to get out there and continue to ask for those votes and fight for their votes.
You know, one of our state representatives in this area, he's a Republican and a really good guy, is Mike Sexton, and we refer to him as Scrappy. As a matter of fact, that's kind of his nickname.
I think that's a great nickname.
Teresa Greenfield is our guest. I talk with pork producers or representatives from the pork producers almost every week, so I have to I have to ask about the export business as far as pork production is concerned. I'm told that it's increased recently with China, perhaps our biggest pork production trade partner. Is there anything that, any ideas that you have to increase our farm exports to China and other countries?
Mm-hmm. Well, Mike, it is really clear that haphazard trade and reckless tariffs have damaged our markets. And prior to COVID, I had done over 100 public campaign events all over the state and have met with farmers from all stripes, whether they're up in Fayette County or Floyd County or Warren County, all over the state. And the number one request I hear is just wanting to rebuild their markets. So you're right on when it comes to the pork producers, corn, soybean, ethanol, everyone. They want those markets back. Farmers, and I know this growing up on the farm, they're independent thinkers, they're certainly independent voters, they're hard workers, they want to compete, and they want that level playing field. And we need a senator that's not going to stand by quietly while our markets are ruined, but rather is going to be very vocal and be fighting to build those markets because that means dollars in people's pocketbooks. That means bigger paychecks. As a matter of fact, I just recently released my Small Town Bigger Paycheck Economic Plan, where I'm focusing on small businesses, growing our workforce, wanting to invest in a robust infrastructure plan. But part of it is, buying America, making sure that we're building those markets so that we're growing those jobs right here and closing a lot of those loopholes for the big corporations, but making it easier for our small manufacturers and our providers to earn a living and be successful and profitable.
This is AM 1400, KVFD, the voice for Dodge. Our guest is Teresa Greenfield. She's the Democratic nominee for the U.S. Senate. Of course, COVID-19 has been dominating our thinking and our lives for months now. There's a lot of finger-pointing going on. There's an endless argument over masks, et cetera, et cetera. Really, I think I speak for a lot of people, Teresa, when I say we're tired of all this argument over COVID-19. We would like a plan. We would like to know if the plan is realistic, when it will be implemented, and when we can get back to our normal lives, because there's a lot of people being hurt out here by COVID-19. It's not a Democrat or Republican problem. This is a major health problem in our state and in our country. Is there anything that the federal government could be doing?
Well, absolutely. There's a lot we can be doing. And let me say, first and foremost, I think, like you, COVID-19 is going to be one of the most consequential events in my lifetime. And it has disrupted, our lives, our health. People have lost their lives. But it's disrupted trade, it's education, travel, our economy. So to your point, everyone is suffering right now. It's a really tough time. And that's one thing I do like about Iowans. We know how to get through tough times together, just how we get along in our hometowns. I'd like to see Washington work more like that, too. Put the partisanship aside and make sure that we're focusing on relief for our workers and our small businesses, but also that we are following the advice of public health officials and getting everyone on the same page about what they can do, what their businesses can do, what our communities can do. For me right now, I think there's a few things that I've been calling for because I put out 2 plans to help working families and small businesses. I believe we need to extend the expanded unemployment insurance that expires right now. We need to have more direct payments to our workers. We have to expand paid sick leave for all of our workers. Gosh, people shouldn't have to decide whether they go to work sick or whether they stay home and take care of themselves or their family, but then maybe lose a paycheck or lose their job. We've got to continue ramping up testing, PPE, mitigation measures. I think our state and local governments, they need help too. There's a lot of essential public workers out there like our first responders and our public health staff and others that work for our state and local governments, and we need to make sure they stay on the job. And then finally, because it's come right around the corner, I think our schools need to get the resources to support them. They need clear guidance from public health experts so they can reopen safely. And they need resources to make that happen, whether it's resources to provide a high-quality education in the classroom or online.
Our guest is Teresa Greenfield at AM 1400, KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge. Of course, she is the Democratic nominee for the U.S. Senate seat now held by Joni Ernst. You've never held an elective office before, am I correct in saying that?
No, Mike, I've never held public office before. Like I said, I've worked much of my career in small business. I have raised 4 kids. Of course, I'm a scrappy farm kid. And, you know, one of the experiences in my life that really drove me to get in this race, because I was raised on the knee of my mother. We marched in parades. I learned about that kind of public service. But, you know, she took us and made sure that we were helping out in our church and serving at funerals. So humility and service were also part of growing up, along with hard work and resiliency. But I was widowed at the age of 24.
That's a tough one.
Yep. And my first husband was a lineman for the power company. He was a member of IBEW. And I tell you, when he died in a workplace accident, I became a single mom with a 13-month-old and another one on the way. And, of course, it was family, friends, hometowns. Fort Dodge is the same way. That really picked me up. But it was Social Security, those earned benefits, and it was his hard-earned union benefits that kept me out of poverty. You know, I didn't lay awake at night wondering how I was going to pay the bills. You don't get rich, believe me. But I knew I could pay the rent. I knew I could buy milk. It gave me the chance to go back to school, get some skills. And I'll tell you, Senator Joni Ernst has talked about privatizing Social Security, and I said no way. And I got in this race. I think Iowans, and about 20% of Iowans rely on Social Security. They need to know that their senator is going to fight and lead to sustain Social Security for generations to come. So, Mike, I went back to college. I started a career in community planning. You know, my very first job was for $8 an hour. It wasn't much, but you know what? I got my dignity back, Mike. I got back on the road to providing for my family. And Iowans, every Iowan wants the dignity of providing for their families. Right now, families are suffering not because they're not hard workers, but this economy and this COVID crisis has really devastated our workers. As you know, we have such a high unemployment rate right now. But for me, that first job led to the next job and the next job and the next job. And so I decided if the divisiveness is going to end in Washington, we need different kind of leaders that bring practical experiences, life experiences, small businesses experience, because, again, Iowa is a state of small towns and small businesses, to the table and represent us in the United States Senate.
All right, Teresa Greenfield's been our guest here at AM 1400, KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge. I want to thank you for being on the air with us today. I do have one final question. Why should the people of Iowa vote for you to be our next U.S. Senator?
Well, I think they should vote for me because I'm going to put their interests first. I'm not going to put the interests of corporate donors, corporate PAC donors. I'm going to fight for them. And I'll tell you what, I understand and have lived tough economic times. We need someone that has done that. I've run small businesses, and they're struggling right now. I've raised 4 kids. I know the tough decisions that get made at kitchen table. And I think Iowans deserve that kind of scrappy, down-to-earth representative as their next senator.
I really appreciate it again. We hope to talk with you again. We hope to see you in Fort Dodge one day.
I look forward to being there, and Mike, I look forward to stopping by and joining you on the radio again. Thank you for the invitation.
Thank you very much. Teresa Greenfield's been our guest. This is AM 1400, KVFD. The
Michael Devine.
You're very clever, my charming little friend.
With more stimulating talk radio.
But not clever enough.
Iowa pig farmers care a lot and do a lot when it comes to protecting our state's environment. We are always evaluating our methods and practices, taking advantage of new learning, advanced technology, and proven results to understand what works, what doesn't, and what can be better. That's why you find pork producers from one border of the state to the other using solar and wind energy or installing field buffers and bioreactors. To learn more, go to iowapork.org.
During this challenging and unprecedented time, Gunderson's is here to serve with expert guidance and understanding to each family and their unique needs. We provide options for funeral, cremation, memorial, virtual, and webcast services, either presently or at a later date. We understand that grief does not wait. We are trained to help you walk this path to bring comfort and support. Every life deserves to be recognized and celebrated, whether it be together or afar.
All right, thanks to Teresa Greenfield for being on with us, certainly Devin Conrad and Larry Baker. It's 4 o'clock in the afternoon. The news is next. This is KVFD, Fort Dodge, Iowa. Thank you for listening.
For exciting Panther sports, keep it right here on your home for University of Northern Iowa sports in north central Iowa. The voice of Fort Dodge, KVFD, Fort Dodge.
Another tragic pandemic milestone. I'm Lisa Brady, Fox News. Coronavirus has now claimed more than 150,000 lives in the United States. The total number of U.S. cases approaching 4.4 million, with more than 20 states currently ranked as red zones with severe outbreaks. And there's renewed concern about protocols on Capitol Hill after Congressman Louis Gohmert tested positive this morning, just as the Texas Republican was preparing to travel to Texas with the president.
Now that I apparently have it, I will be very, very careful to make sure I don't give it to anybody else.
Gohmert has been known not to wear a mask at the Capitol, but says he did wear it yesterday during a House hearing in person with Attorney General Bill Barr. Gohmert's diagnosis prompting a test for Barr as well. The Fed warning that the continued corona fight will weigh heavily on economic activity. Fed Chief Jay Powell says a full recovery isn't possible until people are confident it's safe for a broad range of activities. Do big tech companies have too much power? That's the underlying question at a House hearing on antitrust concerns.
Facebook CEO Mark Zuckerberg told a House panel investigating the power of big tech companies that his industry is not a threat to competitiveness.
When Google bought YouTube, they could compete against the dominant player in video, which was the cable industry. When Amazon bought Whole Foods, they could compete against Kroger's and Walmart.
But Rhode Island Democrat David Cicilline, who heads the Judiciary Committee panel, says Facebook, Amazon, Apple, and Google play an outsized role in American lives.
Many of the practices used by these companies have harmful economic effects. They discourage entrepreneurship, destroy jobs, hike costs, and degrade quality.
Several Republican lawmakers are also raising censorship concerns.
Fox's Jared Halpern. President Trump has threatened executive action aimed at fairness if Congress doesn't take action. America is listening to Fox News.
Progressive Motorcycle presents Road Wisdom from the Motor.
Half man, half motorcycle.
Ride confidently in the direction of your dreams. Unless it's a bad dream, then turn around.
Go the other way.
Progressive Motorcycle also presents basic policy starting at $75 a year. Progressive Motorcycle, for those who were born to ride. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Annual premium for basic liability policy is not available in all states.
Hey, if you're looking to cut costs and free up some cash on a monthly basis, start today with Pure Talk USA. Now, the average family of 4 is saving over $800 a year on cell phone service by switching to Pure Talk USA. Now, every plan includes unlimited talk and text. And by the way, it just starts at $20, so switch to Pure Talk today. Just dial pound 250 keyword Pure Radio. Pure Talk USA, simply smarter wireless. You'll have the option to receive a one-time auto-dialed text from Pure Talk USA.
A phased withdrawal of federal officers is now planned in Portland, Oregon.
Oregon Governor Kate Brown said after speaking with Vice President Mike Pence, federal law enforcement would begin leaving the city Thursday and that Oregon State Police would have a presence downtown. Homeland Security's acting secretary Chad Wolf said there is an agreement to leave after Oregon State Police and local cops show they can protect federal properties and personnel, but that the additional federal law enforcement presence wouldn't be leaving just yet. The president said as much Wednesday morning.
We're not leaving until they've secured their city. We told the governor, we told the mayor, secure your city.
Wolf has said he's glad Oregon officials have seen the error of their ways. Jessica Rosenthal, Fox News.
A wealthy California businessman is heading to prison in the college admissions cheating scandal. 57-year-old Manuel Enriquez, founder and ex-CEO of the venture capital firm Hercules, gets 6 months in prison for paying more than $400,000 in bribes to boost his 2 daughters' entrance exam scores and get one of them into Georgetown University as a fake tennis recruit. Enriquez tearfully telling the judge he feels broken in his heart and soul. His wife was sentenced to 7 months in March. A big country star makes a bold move.
Garth Brooks has taken his name out of consideration for the Country Music Association Awards Entertainer of the Year prize. The superstar has already won the coveted crown 7 times, which he said in his virtual press conference is his number.
It's time for somebody else hold that award, know what that entertainer feels like. And because they're all out there busting their butts.
The 58-year-old last won the award in 2019. He said he made the decision after a tweet he saw following his win. It said, why doesn't he just step down and leave for the next generation? And he said he 100% agreed.
Fox's Michelle Polino. The CMAs are scheduled for November in Nashville. I'm Lisa Brady, and this is Fox News.
From the Jerry Sheeter Newsroom, I'm Rob Jones. A third inmate from the Fort Dodge Correctional Facility has died after contracting COVID-19. 48-year-old Timothy McGee Jr. passed Monday night at the University of Iowa Hospital. The Department of Corrections press release says that McGee had multiple pre-existing medical conditions. He was serving a 15-year sentence on multiple theft convictions. His sentence began in the fall of 2018. As of Tuesday, the Department of Corrections was reporting 336 inmates and 30 staff members from the Fort Dodge prison have tested positive for COVID-19 this month. Webster County Public Health issued a COVID-19 update Tuesday evening that says the county's case count is now at 672 total cases, an increase of 64 cases since late last week. However, over half of those cases are attributed to the Fort Dodge prison. Of the cases for residents in Webster County, 313 of those have recovered, which leaves just 25 active cases in the county. The venue in the murder trial of the Fort Dodge man accused of killing Reverend Al Henderson has now been set. 37-year-old Joshua Pendleton will be tried in Scott County on charges of first-degree murder and first-degree robbery. Pendleton is accused of killing Henderson outside of St. Paul Lutheran Church here in Fort Dodge in October of 2019. The trial has not yet been given a start date, as jury trials are not permitted to start until September due to COVID-19. The start of the trial is expected also to be delayed further than that because of the Scott County courts being backlogged. In sports, Fort Dodge softball is headed to the state championship.
Swung on, hit toward left, Works is under it, that should do it, and that'll do it. Dodgers win 5-3, and they punched that ticket, and for the first time in program history, somebody has uttered the phrase, the Dodgers will play for the state championship tomorrow.
Dodgers a winner 5-3. Ankeny Centennial would get the first run of the game in the top half of the first. Then the Dodgers would answer when T.K. Doster would go deep.
Swung on, driven toward right center gap, and that ball is gone. T.K. Doster touch them all. He just went yard. 2-run blast, and the Dodgers answer the call here in the first.
2-run blast by Doster in the first. Her 8th of the season. Dodgers would then take a 2-1 lead. Ankeny Centennial would answer with 1 in the third to tie it at 2. Dodgers would go up by scoring 1 in the third. They would go up 3-2. Centennial would get 1 in the top half of the 5th and tie the game at 3. Then Martina Lowry would come to the plate for the Dodgers in the bottom half of the 5th.
Swung on, hit toward left center. It out of here, a home run. A big-time blast. Touch them all, Martina Lowry. You just went yard.
The Dodgers would add an insurance run in the sixth when Martina Lowry would get her second hit of the game, an RBI single, to make the game 5-3. Pitching and defense would carry them the rest of the way. Jalen Adams the win in the circle, complete game, giving up 3 runs, scattering 9 hits, and striking out 3. Adams would set Ankeny Centennial down 1-2-3 in the top half of the seventh to win the game. Dodgers are in the state championship for the first time in program history tomorrow. A 4:50 pregame and a 5 p.m. first pitch. They'll take on number 2 Cedar Rapids Kennedy for the Big Gold Trophy. Hear every pitch of the state championship game on Sunny 99.7 and online at yourfortdodge.com. That's your Alpha Media News Update from the Jerry Sheeter Newsroom. I'm Rob Jones.
Here's the AM 1400 KVFD weatherology forecast. Chance for scattered storms this afternoon, otherwise mainly cloudy skies. Highs level off around 85, winds out of the northeast 5 to 10 miles per hour. Chance for scattered storms tonight 64, overcast skies. Chance for scattered storms again tomorrow, highs level off around 83, mainly cloudy skies expected. From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. Right now, 87.
I'm Phil Gunderson. Gunderson's has a tradition of providing services unmatched in our community. Funeral, cremation, and pre-planning services with certified celebrants on staff, aftercare, video, and customized printed goods that are the standard. We offer live streaming options and community support with remembrance and educational programs. When it's time to look for a funeral home, look to Gunderson's.
Gunderson Funeral Home and Cremation Services.
Hiring can be difficult, but if you're a company that's currently trying to hire, you face new difficulties. HousingWire could relate. They needed to hire a reporter to cover the U.S. housing markets, so they turned to ZipRecruiter. ZipRecruiter's smart matching technology finds people with the right experience for your job. In fact, 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. And that's how HousingWire found Alexandra Roja. Alexandra never imagined she could get a reporter job in the midst of COVID-19 until she created a profile on ZipRecruiter. ZipRecruiter matched Alexandra to HousingWire's reporter job because she was a great fit for the role. HousingWire received her application only 4 hours after they posted the job. And a few weeks later, Alexandra started her dream career. ZipRecruiter helped HousingWire find the right person for their role fast.
See how ZipRecruiter can help you hire. Try it now for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Michael Devine, the Doctor of Truth.
Does anyone have anything they'd like to confess?
That AM 1400 KVFD.
All right, that's right. I'm the Doctor of Truth, and with me now is the unquestioned Doctor of Sports for Fort Dodge-IAM, the surrounding area. Rob Jones, News and Sports Director. Big news, buddy.
Big news. State championship game tomorrow. Dodgers
That's right.
punched that ticket today. Semifinal win.
All right. And Centennial was a tough team, too.
They were. And, you know, I thought they were a really good team. They battled. They had some good hitters at the top of the lineup especially. I didn't think Fort Dodge was specifically sharp as they were Monday, but I thought, you know, they made the plays they had to make. I thought they fought kind of through it, and that's the deal. You're not going to go all season in every game are you going to be at the top of your game. I mean, we all know you're going to have the mountaintop performances. You're going to have some that are below that, and they were able to fight through that today, and it was a big win. And, you know, they've had some different players that have stepped up at different times, like today, Martina Lowry, who's a first-year starter at second base. You know, she gets 2 hits today, homers for the first time all season.
All right.
In the 5th to break the tie, and then has an RBI single in the 6th. And I said after the solo homer when she came up in the 6th, and there were 2 on and I think 1 out at that point, I said if she hits another home run, somebody better buy her dinner tonight because, man, she had a ball game. And, you know, so they got a good game out of her. TK Doster had a big 2-run homer in the first because Centennial jumped out to a 1-0 lead after they scored in the first, the top half. So Fort Dodge answered that with TK Doster's home run, and then they didn't really pitch to her much after that. So
I bet they did.
Yeah, they went around her pretty much after that. So, but they got contributions from people. Jalen Adams was good in the circle. And the thing about Jalen is we're all spoiled because we see Jalen so much that she's so good that when she's not at her tip-top mountaintop performance, we're spoiled by how good she actually is when she's not in that. She was good today, good enough to beat one of the best teams in the state, but not as good as she probably was on Monday or what we're used to seeing. So we're a little bit spoiled by how good she really is, and I thought she bared down. Her off-speed stuff wasn't as sharp as it normally is, but she used the fastball to get ahead and kind of bared down late in the game and was able to get, in the sixth and seventh inning, was able to get through really with no problem and pitched her way out of jams when she had to. So tip your cap to her and to that entire team. Tremendous effort.
So tomorrow, first time in school history.
Yes.
Fort Dodge Senior High softball in the state championship game against Cedar Rapids Kennedy.
Yep.
And that's going to be a tough one.
It's going to be a heck of a ball game. It's exactly what you kind of want if you're the high school athletic union. You seeded those teams 1 and 2. They've been ranked 1 and 2 all year. You want the heavyweights slugging it out for the championship.
Where was Centennial, by the way? Do you remember?
Centennial was fifth.
Fifth, yeah,
in the tournament.
Fifth or sixth in there somewhere.
Yeah, they were number 5 in the tournament, and they were ranked most of the year. They really got kind of hot late in the year and got better as the season went on. And, I heard going into the game, their 1, 2, 3 hitters top of the lineup was really good, and they were really good, and they gave Fort Dodge a lot of trouble, and credit to them. That's a team that has talent, and they fought hard, and they wouldn't go away. So I give them a lot of credit.
Hey, if they're in the top 5 in the state, they ain't pushovers.
Sure, absolutely. Anybody you play in the state, they didn't get here by accident.
That's right. You know anything about Cedar Rapids Kennedy or not?
A little bit. They're very good. I don't remember the names exactly. I know their pitcher has numbers. Their number 1 pitcher has numbers that are even a little bit better than Jalen Adams' numbers, which is kind of hard to believe because Jalen's ERA is like .57 or something, or was going into today. She did give up 3 earned runs today, so that'll change a little bit. But their pitcher had an earned run average going into to the tournament of like .4 something. So, and they've got some hitters too. They've got hitters who've hit, 8, 9, 10 home runs. So they're going to be a really good team. They're going to be a hard out. These two teams did meet last year in the consolation round of the state tournament last year, and it's pretty much exactly the same two teams. Cedar Rapids Kennedy had everybody back from that team last year. Fort Dodge had 7 starters back from last year, so it's pretty much the same teams as last year, and Fort Dodge was able to beat them in the consolation round last year. That really doesn't, give you a whole lot about, this year. Doesn't mean a whole lot carrying over, but that is a little caveat. Fort Dodge did beat them last year, and they actually were able to score. I think they scored 7 in that win last year, and they did that against that number 1 pitcher. So she had similar numbers last year to what she has this year too. So with that, I think Fort Dodge has got as good a chance as anybody. I can tell you this: Coach Andy Adams and her team, they're not scared of Cedar Rapids Kennedy. They're not at all scared.
I think Andy said something about that not too long ago. We're just not
probably
afraid.
Did.
We're just not afraid.
She's not. That's something you get. I've been around a lot of coaches in my time, and I'm a former high school coach. And one thing I love about Andy Adams is Andy Adams matches me with intensity. And there wasn't a lot of coaches that I came across. My brother was one of the few that would match me with their intensity. Andy Adams I don't care if it's football or basketball, whatever, I'd hire her to be on my staff because every single day you're going to get that work from her, and you know that you're going to get that intensity day in and day out.
Sure. Yeah, Rob Jones is our guest, and we're talking about a big day in Fort Dodge sports history. Frankly, ladies and gentlemen, we shouldn't forget this at all, that this is the first time the Fort Dodge softball team will be in the state finals. And they're taking on a Cedar Rapids Kennedy team tomorrow. And Cedar Rapids is a lot bigger town than Fort Dodge. They have a lot of people to draw from down there. And I wish the girls well. I wish them well, and they've made us proud this whole year.
Absolutely. I mean, they've been number one all year. And, you know, it's hard to go through a season when the target's on your back as being number one. Everybody's gunning for you.
Yeah,
they've been poised, and they've held that number one ranking all the way through. Cedar Rapids Kennedy is 20-something and 1, and they cruised today. They beat Muscatine today like 9-0. So they cruised.
Oh, they did.
Yeah, they cruised today.
Who'd they beat, 20-something to nothing?
I don't know. Somebody earlier in the year. They haven't beat anybody that bad at the tournament, but like they beat like Pleasant Valley 10-4 on Monday, and then they beat Muscatine 9-0, which Muscatine upset Valley. West Des Moines Valley on Monday or whatever, and kind of got them out of the way. But Cedar Rapids Kennedy is going to be, it's going to be a tough challenge. You could pretty much toss a coin. I will say this, Fort Dodge not at their absolute mountaintop, I didn't think today. They're going to need to have one of those kind of performances as a whole team, tomorrow. But I like their chances of doing that, because the chances that they're going to come out and not play their A-plus game 2 times in a row is pretty slim. I haven't seen them do that 2 times in a row all season. So I would expect their best effort tomorrow, and it's going to take that against a really good Kennedy team.
Boy, are you lucky to have that Harlan Rogers Park right here in town. You don't have to do any
It is pretty
driving.
nice. It is pretty nice. Now, the caveat to that would be if it was on the other side of the state, I'd be like, okay, hotel, per diem, it would be kind of that. Would kind of be the flip side to that.
Yeah, well, I've been there a lot of times. I get sent somewhere by a radio station to some big city, and I wind up so tired at the end of the day from the work, I just wind up going back usually to my hotel room anyway.
That's pretty much what I do whenever I've been on the road doing games. In Oklahoma, they would send us from western Oklahoma to Tulsa, Oklahoma, to do a basketball tournament every year. Not even a state tournament, just like a holiday tournament that our teams were in from western Oklahoma. So that was pretty much what it is. By the time you drive all the way across the state and you do the games and and get all the work in, and then before I left, they said, and we have a tradition here. When we send you out like this, the next morning you've got to call in live onto the morning show and do the report. And I said, well, okay, but the game's going to be over at like 6 o'clock. Can I not just tape it? It's the same. It's going to be the same report at 7 o'clock tonight than it would be live in the morning. But no, they didn't want to do that. They wanted me to get up early. So whatever. It's all right.
Well, this is going to be what? Gosh, I've been talking about this all day, and I never found out which station on Alpha Media are we broadcasting the game?
Yes, we'll have Sunny 99.7 will have the game.
Sunny 99.7 starting at 5?
It starts at 5, 4:50 pregame, 5 o'clock first pitch tomorrow evening. Game's also available online at yourfortdodge.com.
That's right.
So if you're not, in the area, you can pick it up from there too. So we will have the game on those outlets tomorrow, and very much looking forward to it. I tell you what, today was a little bit of an episode of Adventures in Broadcasting today. I told Brian Peters when we were done today, I said, somebody should have taped that, should have videoed that, and showed broadcasting classes in colleges. You really want to be a sportscaster? Do you really want to do this? Because it was 90-something degrees today. There was no shade. We were out in it the whole time. And on top of that, we were positioned behind where the Iowa Girls High School Athletic Union reps were. So I was standing up, which was fine, standing up. But then about the 4th inning, the union reps, they start getting too hot because, they're not used to being out there. So they go and get umbrellas. Well, here's a problem. When I'm behind you and I'm already standing up and you put up a 6-foot umbrella, I can't see the game to call the game. So what I did was we repositioned the equipment. My equipment was overheating too, by the way, Mike, so I had to put it underneath the table during the middle of the broadcast to keep it shaded. So we move out, and I have to move all the way behind Brian Peters out into the aisleway, and I'm standing like at an angle. Well, my body is kind of beat up from when I was an athlete. A lot of my joints are beat up. My hip, my shoulder. I took a lot of punishment when I was an athlete. So standing at that angle kind of awkwardly like that, stretching the cord from the receiver to my headset as far as I could to be able to do the game, my hip starts hurting. So
and I know people heard me grunt there, and they probably thought I was mad because they put the umbrella in front of me, and that's what I was grunting about. No, I was hurting. I was like grunting in pain because I was on an angle and my hip was hurting the whole entire time. So for anybody who thought that, and I know people thought that because I got messages that asked me about that already. So for anybody that, you know, had that in mind, no, I wasn't upset or anything. I was grunting because my left hip was hurting, and I was just trying to make it through the game.
Anyway, great job out there today, Rob.
Well, thank you very much.
Great job, and again, sincere and hearty congratulations to the Fort Dodge softball.
They've earned it. Those kids, you know, they put that as a priority. They work hard. The parents are invested. The coaches are fully invested. You know, they've earned it, and they're going to play for a chance at it tomorrow. And, you know, of course, we wish them the best of luck. You know, normally I try to be as bipartisan as I can and down the middle, but
you can't be in the championship.
In this situation, I'm not. You know, I hope they win it tomorrow.
I hope they win it. I hope they win it going away because, again, a great effort, and everybody in town is very proud of them. And
should be.
Anyway, Rob Jones has been our guest. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
This is AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge.
The continued role demand will play in livestock profitability. Hello, I'm Megan Grebner with Managing for Profit on Brownfield. Red meat production in the U.S. continues to push higher, but an unstable economy creates even more demand uncertainty. In this Managing for Profit, livestock economist Scott Brown talks about some of the key areas he's watching as both cattle and hog prices are running below year-ago levels. We'll find out more on Brownfield right after this.
1 in 3 adults has prediabetes. 1 in 3. That means it could be you, your football buddy, your football buddy, or you, your best man, your worst man, you, your dog walker, your cat jogger. While 1 in 3 adults has prediabetes, with early diagnosis, prediabetes can be reversed. Take the risk test at doihaveprediabetes.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and its Prediabetes Awareness Partners.
Most of us like to be out in the sun. That's why sunscreen and other safety measures are key to protecting your skin from aging and cancer. The FDA recommends using a sunscreen with an SPF of 15 or higher. Also, look for broad spectrum on the label. That means both harmful ultraviolet A and B rays are blocked. Remember, SPF plus broad spectrum equal healthy fun in the sun. Visit www.fda.gov/sunscreen for more information. A message from the U.S. Food and Drug Administration.
Red meat production in the U.S. continues to rise. University of Missouri livestock economist Scott Brown details the findings from the latest livestock slaughter numbers from the USDA.
On the weight side, 34 pounds of increase in cattle dressed weights in June relative to a year ago. We're actually now seeing that turn back up again, I believe, in cattle weights. That makes me worried about just the tonnage of beef that we're going to have at the end of the day. And talking about that, 146 million pounds of additional beef produced in June this year relative to a year ago. Now, I think, again, we're pushing some of that forward from where we were when we were shut down or slowed down in terms of beef processing. But still a pretty big number on that front. That's 6.6% more beef than where we were a year ago at this time. Now, just a perspective, year to date, beef production still down 1.9%. On the pork side, yes, weights still are above year-ago level, 2 pounds above where we were June a year ago. However, when you look at June total hog slaughter, 11.7% above where we were June a year ago. For production, 273 million pounds in June above year-ago levels, almost 13% above June of 2019. So we're certainly seeing a stark difference relative to what we would have been talking about in that slowdown period of processing, that's for sure.
He tells Brownfield demand will continue to play a vital role in the recovery of the livestock sector. But with an economy that isn't recovering as quickly as anyone would like, it does create some concerns about domestic demand.
I was the other day just looking at some of the foot traffic data that's out there. And, you know, we were talking about this very nice increase in restaurant traffic and other traffic as we were recovering from COVID-19 cases. But about the end of June, you see that to turn back over and start to go down again. So I'm really curious to to see how that goes forward, because we are going to move a lot of product, beef and pork, in terms of production. And we need all the demand we can get. Thank goodness, I think we'll get some help on the export side, but we need domestic demand to hang with us as well.
I'm Megan Grebner with Managing for Profit on Brownfield.
Connect to this radio station from all across the country. Take us to the gym, shopping. How about a road trip? Listen to us now on the free iHeartRadio app. You'll never miss a moment with your favorite radio station. Download the free iHeartRadio app and search for this station so we can go wherever you want us to.
From the Jerry Sheeter Newsroom, I'm Rob Jones. A third inmate from the Fort Dodge Correctional Facility has died after contracting COVID-19. 48-year-old Timothy McGee Jr. passed Monday night at the University of Iowa Hospital. The Department of Corrections press release says that McGee had multiple pre-existing medical conditions. He was serving a 15-year sentence on multiple theft convictions. His sentence began in the fall of 2018. As of Tuesday, the Department of Corrections was reporting 336 inmates and 30 staff members from the Fort Dodge prison have tested positive for COVID-19 this month. Webster County Public Health issued a COVID-19 update Tuesday evening that says the county's case count is now at 672 total cases, an increase of 64 cases since late last week. However, over half of those cases are attributed to the Fort Dodge prison. Of the cases for residents in Webster County, 313 of those have recovered, which leaves just 25 active cases in the county. The venue in the murder trial of the Fort Dodge man accused of killing Reverend Al Henderson has now been set. 37-year-old Joshua Pendleton will be tried in Scott County on charges of first-degree murder and first-degree robbery. Pendleton is accused of killing Henderson outside of St. Paul Lutheran Church here in Fort Dodge in October of 2019. The trial has not yet been given a start date, as jury trials are not permitted to start until September due to COVID-19. The start of the trial is expected also to be delayed further than that because of the Scott County courts being backlogged. In sports, Fort Dodge softball is headed to the state championship.
Swung on, hit toward left, Works is under it, that should do it, and that'll do it. Dodgers win 5-3, and they punched that ticket, and for the first time in program history, somebody has uttered the phrase, the Dodgers will play for the state championship tomorrow.
Dodgers a winner 5-3. Ankeny Centennial would get the first run of the game in the top half of the first. Then the Dodgers would answer when TK Doster would go deep.
Swung on, driven toward right center gap, and that ball is gone. TK Doster, touch them all. He just went yard. 2-run blast, and the Dodgers answer the call here in the first.
2-run blast by Doster in the first. Her 8th of the season. Dodgers would then take a 2-1 lead. Ankeny Centennial would answer with 1 in the third to tie it at 2. Dodgers would go up by scoring 1 in the third. They would go up 3-2. Centennial would get 1 in the top half of the 5th and tie the game at 3. Then Martina Lowry would come to the plate for the Dodgers in the bottom half of the 5th.
Swung on, hit toward left center. It out of here, a home run. A big-time blast. Touch them all, Martina Lowry. You just went yard.
The Dodgers would add an insurance run in the 6th when Martina Lowry would get her second hit of the game, an RBI single, to make the game 5-3. Pitching and defense would carry them the rest of the way. Jalen Adams the win in the circle, complete game, giving up 3 runs, scattering 9 hits, and striking out 3. Adams would set Ankeny Centennial down 1-2-3 in the top half of the 7th to win the game. Dodgers are in the state championship for the first time in program history tomorrow. A 4:50 pregame and a 5 p.m. first pitch. They'll take on number 2 Cedar Rapids Kennedy for the Big Gold Trophy. Hear every pitch of the state championship game on Sunny 99.7 and online at yourfortdodge.com. That's your Alpha Media News Update from the Jerry Sheeter Newsroom. I'm Rob Jones.
This is AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge, 433. In the weather, there's a chance of a thunderstorm later on this evening. Our high today will be 87, exactly where we are right now. Overnight, maybe some thunderstorms. Cloudy with a low of 65. Tomorrow, sunny with a high of 82. Friday, sunny with a high of 83. Saturday, a chance of rain. Mostly sunny with a high of 84. Sunday, sunny with a high of 78. And Monday, sunny with a high of 77. Right now in town, a few clouds, 87 degrees, pretty muggy, 87 degrees in Fort Dodge. Obituaries this hour brought to you by the historic Bruce Funeral Home at 923 First Avenue South, Fort Dodge. You may contact the historic Bruce Funeral Home by calling 515-576-5117 or online at www.brucesfuneralhome.com. Chuck Coleman of Otho has passed away. Charles Coleman, 67 years old, of Otho, died on July 26th after a battle with cancer. Visitation for Chuck Coleman will be from 4 to 7 tomorrow, and that's here in town. Charles Chuck Coleman, 67, of Otho, has passed away. Obituaries this hour brought to you by the historic Bruce Funeral Home at 923 First Avenue South, Fort Dodge. You may contact the historic Bruce Funeral Home by calling 515-576-5117 or online at www.brucesfuneralhome.com. It's 4:34 at AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge, 87 degrees. With a look at the closing market report, here's Dwayne Murley.
Here's a look at how the markets closed today. September corn down 4.5 at 315.5. December down 3 3/4 at 326 1/4. March corn down 3 cents at 338 1/4. May down 3 at 345 3/4. August soybeans down 5 1/4 at 891 1/2. September down 3 1/4 at 884 1/2. November down 2 1/4 at 885 1/4. January down 1 3/4 at 891 1/2. September wheat closed up 9 1/4 cents at 532 3/4. Soybean meal down $2 a ton at 286.90. August live cattle up 55 at 101.45. October up 105 at 106.05. August feeder cattle up 127 at 141.97. September up 127 at 142.57. August lean hogs down 112 at 53.07. October down 90 cents at 49.82. I am Dwayne Murley.
I'm Connell McShane. This is the Fox Business Report.
Stocks ending higher after the Federal Reserve left its benchmark interest rate unchanged near 0%, and Fed Chair Jerome Powell pledged to provide support to the economy until it recovers. Among the gainers, tech companies, as top executives from the world's largest tech firms were grilled by lawmakers over their business practices while investors bought their companies. The Dow rising 160 points, the Nasdaq up 141, S&P 500 up 40. And Advanced Micro Devices shares rallying over 12% for a record high after posting an upbeat quarter. There's also optimism that the chip maker will pick up some business from rival Intel, which has delayed its next generation chips. And shares of Qualcomm are surging in the extended session after the chip company projected a big jump in profit and revenue in the current quarter, thanks to a settlement from Chinese tech giant Huawei. That's your Fox Business Report. I'm Hillary Barsky, invested in you.
Capital One checking and savings accounts have no fees or minimums and a top-rated banking app that lets you manage your money anytime, anywhere, even from your favorite hiking trail. With Capital One's app, you can check your balance, deposit checks, pay bills, and transfer money from wherever you are anytime you want, even when you're cooking dinner. Open a fee-free checking or savings account online in about 5 minutes. This is banking reimagined. Capital One, what's in your wallet?
Consumer accounts only. Approval required. Terms apply. Capital One N.A. member FDIC.
Hiring can be difficult, but if you're a company that's currently trying to hire, you face new difficulties. Housing Wire could relate. They needed to hire a reporter to cover the U.S. housing markets, so they turned to ZipRecruiter. ZipRecruiter's smart matching technology finds people with the right experience for your job. In fact, 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. And that's how Housing Wire found Alexandra Roja. Alexandra never imagined she could get a reporter job in the midst of COVID-19 until she created a profile on ZipRecruiter. ZipRecruiter matched Alexandra to Housing Wire's reporter job because she was a great fit for the role. Housing Wire received her application only 4 hours after they posted the job. And a few weeks later, Alexandra started her dream career. ZipRecruiter helped Housing Wire find the right person for their role fast.
See how ZipRecruiter can help you hire. Try it now for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Michael Devine at AM 1400.
In the name of justice and the American way of life.
With 60 rounds of freedom.
That's right. This is AM 1400, KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge. I'm the Doctor of Truth, Michael Devine, and joining me now is a real doctor, Dr. Lee Heeb, who's an orthopedic surgeon and libertarian. How are you, Lee?
Hey, well, it's just one day at a time. I'm trying to just maintain stability in a crazy world.
I'm wondering if we can round up all these Portland protesters and run them down to Gitmo. I wonder how they'd like that.
Well, I may be in jail too. I'm just letting you know.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
What are they throwing you? What are they throwing you in for?
County, well, I'm going to tell you, Douglas County in Omaha is just passed an ordinance. They're going to make a mandatory mask wearing thing for Douglas County. And I don't know what it exactly involves. Oops, there's my alarm telling me to be on. I don't know what it exactly involves, and I don't know if I'm going to have to wear a mask in my office, but I'm not doing it. And I just emailed the mayor, and I said to our Republican mayor, I said, you better prepare to come and arrest me because I'm not. I've taken 2 oaths, one to the Constitution as a naval officer and an oath of Hippocrates, and this violates both of them. I'm not going to lie and create mischief to my patients, and I'm not going to watch and as we totally trample on our constitutional rights. So I don't know what we're going to do, but I'm going to try and get a group of doctors to go protest Monday afternoon in front of the courthouse. I don't know. We got to do something, and nobody should. People can say, "Well, it's just mask wearing." Okay, when they ask you to walk on hands and feet because they claim COVID now is hovers 3 feet above the ground, are you going to do that? When they tell you can't go out of your house that might contaminate somebody on the street, I mean, it's just you can't let them take every liberty we have away on the basis of science of nothing that's scientific. Here's the other problem I'm finding. And that is when you try to explain to them about masks and that they don't screen out for viruses, they've known it forever. They've said so on the box. It tells you that in the literature. They say, well, I can find four articles that tell you the opposite. Yes, right now you can, but when you read the article, you have to look at the quality of the evidence. The articles that say that masks don't work are super serious scientific articles where they take people in controlled chambers and they watch what goes through the mask. It also looks at big populations and the spread of influenza, which was just published by literally the CDC. It's in the CDC Infectious Disease Update or something like that. It's a magazine, a journal the CDC publishes. And these 4 authors or more had a huge meta-analysis of papers looking at the transmission of influenza. And influenza is about the same particle size as COVID, although COVID seems to spread more readily. So it's even worse, okay? They showed, in this paper that is huge, it's a long paper, it takes a while to get through, they showed there was no difference in the transmission rate of influenza if you wore a mask, if you did any distancing, and if you washed your hands, it turns out, which I always suspected because although that makes sense, there's no question that hand washing makes sense for bacterial stuff. It doesn't stop viral transmission, which is just from breathing. And these masks really do not, let me just say the difference. When you find a paper that says masks work, they basically start citing, the negative story you just read isn't true. Oxygen levels don't go down. I've got an article they cite NASA, for the love of God. But they don't look at actual research. They don't look at actual people in the field. Do they get sick or not? And anybody should take a step back and say, if masks are so effective, why is everybody turning out positive? Even when everybody was wearing masks. Okay, we were social distancing, we were staying at home, and yet they're telling us the tests are 100% positive all over the country.
We need to be clear about what this mask thing is all about. It's not about health professionals who want to do the right thing for the population of the state. It's the authoritarian impulse, and especially the liberal side of the political equation, They just want to force you to do something because they get a thrill out of the power that they have or the perceived power that they have. That's all it is. Governor Reynolds is under tremendous pressure to institute a statewide mask policy. I think she's very courageous for not doing it. I don't trust these people who are insisting on masks. I know who they are, and what they want to do is rub our nose in it. You're powerless. We control you. We're the good people. We're the smart people, and you're the dumb people, and you're going to do as we say. No, we're not.
Right. But how are we going to stand up? So my plan is to just not do it. What are you know, people need to make a decision here. Are you going to put on the Star of David? This is like when the Jews put on the yellow star.
Sure.
It's going, you know, although it in a way it's kind of reversed, because the people they're going to come after in this case are the people that are not wearing the mask. But if enough of us do it, you know, we all hang separately or we hang together, or we survive together. In this situation, they can't control all of us. In any situation, they can't control all of us. But this is right out of Biederman. It's called Biederman's Table of Coercion. How they deal with prisoners they want to swing to their side. You know, how they get them to submit. And it's a mind game of submission. We isolate you. We take away all your social props, and we degrade you by forcing you to do things that make no sense. And then we occasionally give you little treats, and we show you our omnipotence. You know, we're in all control. You can't fight us. We're totally controlling you.
That's right.
And that's what this is all about. I didn't believe it at first, and I'm not saying that the virus, to recap, when this came out, the virus was deadly. It killed people. But interestingly, I found four senior political people around the world died. And 3 of them were in Iran, and 1 was a vice president in Africa. So probably still people that the West didn't really care too much about. But you notice, and I can tell you at the federal level, not one senior federal person has died from this virus. Now, doctors have died. We've lost over 600 around the world. Why are other people dying and not the senior feds? And why does Fauci take off his mask? And why, by the way, if masks are so friggin' important, why did they just give a pass on mask wearing to the federal politicians? Did you see that?
Yes.
They get a pass. They don't have to wear them. They're going to get a dispensation. They get a dispensation. How serious can this be?
Special dispensation. Yes. Are we making any progress? Are we making any progress towards a vaccine or an end to this mess? I'm so sick of hearing from medical professionals. You know, the other night, last week, I watched NBC News with Lester Holt. 22 minutes of his broadcast was about the coronavirus, and there's been very little let up ever since. This is political. I really have to believe this is political. They're not reporting anything new. What they're doing is reporting on poor people suffering from COVID or health professionals who are under deep stress somewhere. Come on. That's it?
They're doing everything they can to make this sound like it's the crisis of the century, and it's not. We in real terms, we lost people more last year to flu worldwide, flu-like illness, viral illness, flu-like illness, than we did this year to COVID. That's the worldwide numbers. Now, it started out very deadly, but it quickly attenuated, and that's what viruses do. The evolutionary cycle of viruses is they get weaker in terms of death as they pass through humans, and they get more virulent, or they get more transmissible. So, if you're a virus and you want to propagate your children, right? What do? You become less deadly and more transmissible, not the other way around. So this is not a deadly virus at this point to most people. Now, I talked to a nurse recently from UNMC, and she said the only people dying of COVID in their ICU are over 400 pounds. Obesity is a major risk factor, maybe not an independent risk factor, but the two big things seem to be obesity and low vitamin D, and they may be related. I don't know, but the Indonesians don't have a lot of obese people, so they don't see that one. But they saw the low vitamin D, and we're seeing the obese here. So again, we did shut down the world for last year's flu season. We don't shut down the world for, anything else. They're making up that we're making decisions on tests that have no benchmarks. Think about that. And if you want to know that this is political or real science, just ask yourself. And finally, I saw somebody wrote an article about this. This real journalist and some that Fauci's been wrong about everything. Literally everything they've told us has been wrong, either by omission or commission. They've told us things that are not true, like the mask. They've told us, and he's flip-flopped all over there, and you saw him not wearing a mask at the ballpark. I love that. And then, he hasn't told us what we can do to help ourselves. That's the big tip-off. If they really concerned about things, they would tell you what makes a difference to help yourself. Take vitamin D, take selenium, take zinc, lose weight, don't be on an ACE inhibitor, don't take a flu vaccine, eat right, improve your own immune system, in other words. They don't tell you that, and there's a reason, because this is not about medical help. This is not about saving you. And you know what, I'm giving a talk in next month in Las Vegas, and initially this talk, last year when I was tasked to do this, I came up with a theme, and my talk was on the weaponization of medicine. Even before I'd ever heard the term COVID, or nobody knew about it, I thought in the back of my mind, if I were an autocrat and I wanted to control the world, I could do it now through medical things. And I wasn't particularly thinking of a release of this type of a virus. I was thinking in terms of I could give people a damaging vaccine. I could, mandate that people take a medicine that actually worked against things. I figured out things you could do, and I thought to myself, it's the next evolution of warfare. We started out as tribals that beat each other over the clubs, and then we moved on to nation states, which had strategy and tactics in their warfare and standing armies. And then we moved to the Americans. The Americans, we invented guerrilla warfare, hiding behind trees and making the British pissed off. And then the next level happened in our lifetime when they developed terrorist warfare, basically. It's warfare by groups that we can identify as warriors and enemies, but we're not 100% sure who they represent always, right? So it's an army without a clear nation state, even though we know that nation states are needed to fund them, or not to fund them, but to give them an area to train. They could be funded by internationals, but they have to be trained somewhere. But the final step may be this one, that now we're seeing warfare by fear of medical sickness, not only the sickness alone, but by fear, by using medical illness, and the warriors in this war are not, Marines and Army and sailors, etc. The warriors here are medical technocrats, and technocrat comes from the term techno for art or science or knowledge, and kratos was the god, the divine personification of power. So these people are wielding power through their knowledge, and it's differential knowledge. This is the same thing as the bookie knowing something you don't know. And he can, if he knows the horse is lame, he can make you rich, he can make you poor, he can create the outcome. That's what I'm pointing out when I say that only 4 senior political people around the world died. Now, it's interesting, Boris Johnson got really sick, but remember, he was elected to do Brexit, so maybe they wanted him out. But he survived. Finally he got the right treatment, I think.
Sure.
But we're still killing people by not giving them the right treatment. We're still creating confusion and locking people down. The ultimate picture I have in my computer is a line of people, and it doesn't look like it's in America. It could be Mexico, or it could be, I don't know, some country that's locked people down. And it has literally circles painted on the sidewalk, 6 feet apart, and people are standing in these circles. Dear God, how did we get this place? Where did we go in a world where humans now are like cattle, and we stand in a circle when our overlords tell us to do that? Do we see people dying on the streets and getting sick all over the place? It's so crazy that people don't look around them and say, why are we doing this? I don't see people dying and getting sick. I don't see the hospitals being overrun. They're getting sick like they always did. People are dying like they always did. We just have a new disease that's doing it. Okay? But it's not a huge difference. It's picking off certain susceptible people. You know, I don't get it.
I don't get it either. Well, it's always about power. It's really,
always about power.
It's always about power. All these people are mumbling and carrying on about, oh, yes, we're the good people, and oh, yes, we're doing this for your own good. That's a lot of crap. And they'll ridicule us. Oh, you're selfish, and oh, my God, you're talking about your freedoms. What a bore. That's really what they say. It's boring for you to talk about your freedoms. It's astounding.
Well, and that's why you can't argue science with people either. You cannot, when I hear some doctor, and I have doctor friends that are like, I hear some doctors say, oh, that's not true. Max do this, Max do that, or hydroxychloroquine hasn't been shown to work. I know they haven't been reading the literature lately. The problem is it takes time and energy to search out for things that is not being force-fed to you by Big Pharma. In other words, what we know generally, the medical people need to understand that the pharmaceutical industries basically fund the medical schools, they fund the hospitals, they fund research. We get push-fed what they want us to know. And if you want to learn something else, you have to actively seek it out and read it. And how many doctors have time to do that? So this isn't just about lay people. Even physicians who should be able to read the medical literature are not reading it. And what you're reading is the puff pieces that show up in Time or, in Newsweek or something that says, well, we talked to an epidemiologist in San Francisco, and she said blah, 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 and quoted NASA and blah, blah. It's like, no, that's not a real study. That's a puff piece. That's just an opinion piece, okay? That doesn't mean anything. You've got to pull the science. And the people talking about science are not scientists. The people that know what's going on they're standing out there in white coats or they're in small offices saving people's lives. And it's interesting that now they're censoring anybody that reports on this doctor revolt where doctors are in white coats in D.C. telling the truth. Did you see that?
No,
they had a bunch of doctors. Yeah, well, they had a bunch of doctors talking about it, showing how hydroxychloroquine works, telling the people that this is crazy, and none of them were in masks, by the way. And it was reported in Breitbart, and Breitbart got deplatformed, got dropped off Google searches. That's what they're doing. Now, if this were a real medical emergency, you'd want doctors to communicate with each other because we're the people that save lives. But they don't want us to communicate, and they don't want us to communicate to the public. So
are we getting?
That's the truth as I see it today in the Windy City.
All right. Are we getting close to a vaccine or not?
Well, I don't care because I'm not taking it. Let me tell you about this vaccine.
All right.
Okay? We've only had one other DNA vaccine. This is an RNA virus, and the vaccine they're making is a DNA vaccine. In other words, it's a little snippet of DNA that's going to go into your DNA permanently. It's going to change Mike's Divine. You're going to have a little snippet of new DNA, like Roundup Ready corn is no longer corn, right? If these things that have been hybridized through GMO, you're going to be the product of GMO, essentially. Now, the other problem with, even if that weren't true, here's the other problem just statistically. When the first virus vaccine came out, it was against SARS. And it was a test. In our country, we tested on 3 animal species. I hear, and I think I've said this to you before, that by rumor they tested on humans in China. What happened was sudden death, and it was death by cardiac failure, like we're seeing people that died of COVID initially. Okay? And it was called immune, I always have to think of this. It basically immune hyperreactivity. It's like immune enhancement. That's what it's called. So what it is that when you give the vaccine, and by the way, vaccine producers, they look at one thing. They want to know if it makes humoral antibodies. And if it does, they consider it a success. They don't care about deceiving about whether it actually stops the disease they're looking at. So they gave it to cats in this country as mother animals, and the cats produced antibodies. So far, so good. But then when they presented the cat with the actual virus to see if it prevented him from getting disease, the cat died. And the reason was because the virus now got coated with these antibodies and got taken into the cat's body like a Trojan horse, where it replicated wildly, unseen by its immune system, and the cat was overwhelmed until it damaged the heart, lungs, and brain and died.
Oh, no.
Okay. Now, in China, by rumor, they tested it on humans. And remember early on in China, one of the things that, because I was watching this like the weekly serial soap, okay? I was watching China, every video that came out. I was reading all this stuff. Anyway, at first, these young men, they look like 20, 30-year-old men. They'd be walking down the street, and they'd drop over on their face. Can't fake that. And they said people were dying of heart failure unexpectedly, even young people. I think those were people who got the experimental SARS vaccine. I can't prove that one.
Yeah.
Everything else I've said, I can send you literature on. This one I can't prove, but I'm telling you that's my suspicion.
All right.
Because it looked like immune enhancement. And that's my warning.
All right. Dr. Lee Heeb has been our guest. Thank you, Lee.
Thank you. Bye.
This is AM 1400 KVFD.
Is it time for a new roof, or did your roof take a beating from Mother Nature? If so, here's some great advice from Hahn Roofing. When you're trying to decide on a contractor, never tolerate high-pressure sales tactics. Never sign a contract without a price. Never make a payment until your job is done. And never accept a job that is not installed to manufacturer specifications. No warranty, no deal. Make the right choice. Call Hahn Roofing today at 515-573-7440. That's 515-573-7440. Hahn Roofing, an Owens Corning Platinum contractor.
Liberty Mutual Insurance Company presents and Doug.
Breathe out and repeat after me. Liberty Mutual customizes your car insurance so you only pay for what you need.
Liberty Mutual customizes your car insurance so you only pay for what you need.
Your bird is eating my candles.
Your bird is eating my candles.
No, seriously, he's making a mess.
No, seriously, he's...
Liberty, 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 liberty.
Get a customized quote at libertymutual.com.
All right, thanks to all my guests today. Certainly Councilman Conrad, Dr. Lee Heeb, all my guests today. I really want to thank for being on, of course. It's 5 o'clock in the afternoon. Thank you so much for listening. This is KVFD, Fort Dodge, Iowa.
If you're a gearhead or not, you'll enjoy the Under the Hood Car Show every Saturday afternoon from 2 till 4 on the voice of Fort Dodge, AM 1400, KVFD, Fort Dodge.
Another bleak milestone. I'm Lisa Lacera, Fox News. The number of dead from COVID-19 in the U.S. has reached 150,000, by far the highest in the world. That's according to the tally from Johns Hopkins University, with the number of infections at 4.4 million. This as Congress continues to work on another coronavirus stimulus package. They remain far apart.
The coronavirus does not care that we are divided. The coronavirus will not care if Washington Democrats decide it suits their partisan goals to let relief run dry.
Senate Republican leader Mitch McConnell, Republicans want to include liability protection in the measure, a sticking point for Democrats.
After an interminable delay, Senate Republicans have finally admitted that the country needs relief. But they can't even get their act together to produce a halfway legitimate legislative proposal.
Senate Democratic leader Chuck Schumer. Texas Congressman Louis Gohmert has tested positive for the virus. The Republican is frequently seen in the Capitol without a mask.
Look, I've worn a mask more the last week or two than I have in the whole last 4 months. And I was wearing my mask at the judiciary hearing.
He's referring to yesterday's hearing with Attorney General William Barr. His office has said that Barr will now be tested for the virus. While in Texas, to sign several energy measures, President Trump said the state's virus numbers have stabilized, and he says new cases are on the decline, but he says they must remain vigilant. The heads of Amazon, Facebook, Apple, and Alphabet, the company that owns Google and YouTube, before a House panel today where Republicans quizzed them about perceived biases against conservatives and addressed antitrust concerns. Wall Street at the close, a rally after the Fed decided to keep interest rates low to boost the economy. The Dow added 160, the Nasdaq plus 140, the S&P up 40 points. America is listening to Fox News.
Land ho! hey, seriously, land ho, guys. Guys, land ho! Land ho! Land ho! Land ho! Right there!
The
Tides can turn quick on the water. Progressive's boat insurance has you covered with Sign and Glide on-water towing. Get a quote today in as little as 3 minutes at Progressive.com.
I gotta say, this land ho thing, not very effective.
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Sign and Glide coverage is subject to policy terms.
Hey, if you're looking to cut costs and free up some cash on a monthly basis, start today with Pure Talk USA. Now, the average family of 4 is saving over $800 a year on cell phone service by switching to Pure Talk USA. Now, every plan includes unlimited talk and text. And by the way, it just starts at $20. So switch to Pure Talk today. Just dial pound 250 keyword Pure Radio. Pure Talk USA. Simply smarter wireless. You'll have the option to receive a one-time auto-dial text from Pure Talk USA.
With your KWMT News Update, I'm Rob Jones. The venue in the murder trial of the Fort Dodge man accused of killing Reverend Al Henderson has now been set. 37-year-old Joshua Pendleton will be tried in Scott County on charges of first-degree murder and first-degree robbery. Pendleton is accused of killing Henderson outside of St. Paul Lutheran Church here in Fort Dodge in October of 2019. The trial has not yet been given a start date, as jury trials are not permitted to start until September due to COVID-19. The start of the trial is expected also to be delayed further than that because of the Scott County courts being backlogged. In sports, Fort Dodge softball is headed to the state championship.
Swung on, hit toward left, Works is under it, that should do it, and that'll do it. Dodgers win 5-3, and they punched that ticket, and for the first time in program history, somebody has uttered the phrase, the Dodgers will play for the state championship tomorrow.
Dodgers a winner 5-3. Ankeny Centennial would get the first run of the game in the top half of the first. Then the Dodgers would answer when TK Doster would go deep.
Swung on, driven toward right center gap, and that ball is gone. TK Doster, touch them all. He just went yard.
2-run blast by Doster in the first. Her 8th of the season. Dodgers would then take a 2-1 lead. Ankeny Centennial would answer with 1 in the third to tie it at 2. Dodgers would go up by scoring 1 in the third. They would go up 3-2. Centennial would get 1 in the top half of the 5th and tie the game at 3. Then Martina Lowry would come to the plate for the Dodgers at the bottom half of the 5th.
Swung on, hit toward left center. Hit out of here, a home run. A big-time blast. Touch them all, Martina Lowry. You just went yard.
The Dodgers would add an insurance run in the 6th when Martina Lowry would get her second hit of the game, an RBI single, to make the game 5-3. Pitching and defense would carry them the rest of the way. Jalen Adams the win in the circle, complete game, giving up 3 runs, scattering 9 hits, and striking out 3. Adams would set Ankeny Centennial down 1-2-3 in the top half of the 7th to win the game. Dodgers are in the state championship for the first time in program history tomorrow, a 4:50 pregame and a 5 p.m. first pitch. They'll take on number 2 Cedar Rapids Kennedy for the Big Gold Trophy. Hear every pitch of the state championship game on Sunny 99.7 and online at yourfortdodge.com. For KVFD from the Jerry Sheeter Newsroom, I'm Rob Jones.
Live from the headquarters of Ramsey Solutions, broadcasting from the Dollar Car Rental Studio. This is The Dave Ramsey Show, where America hangs out to have a conversation about your life and your money. My name is Anthony O'Neill, co-hosting today with the #1 national best-selling author and one of the strongest women speakers out there in the world, the one and only Christy Wright. 888-825-5225. We're taking your calls this hour around money, around life, around starting a business. If you're a young lady, if you're a woman, and you just really want to get some womanly advice on how to proceed forward in life, in any area of your life, please give us a call. Any questions around money? I even want to hear a little bit from millennials, young people. How do we start off right? What should I do? Give us a call. Give us a call. 888 825-5225. Christy and I would love to take your phone call. I saw this article earlier, Christy. You saw it too, and we both said let's have a conversation about this because you're married, I'm single, so we can really have a real good conversation with this because I have some questions to a married person. I have my own perspective. This kind of rubbed me wrong, and I was like, what in the world? Yeah. But this article was on CNBC. This article has the nerve, people, to say